Naruto, I'm not a Pokémon. Chapter 1 Mirukawa Kaito. Ninja World, Kirigakure Village, Ninja School. The midday sun seemed to only slightly dispel the fog in the training ground but could not dispel the gloomy atmosphere on the scene. A group of 8 or 9-year-old children are now quietly listening to the lecture of the Chunin sensei in the training ground. Since the second Hokage Senju Tobirama promoted the ninja school system in Konohagakure village, it has been imitated by great ninja villages. However, due to the different customs of each ninja village, it also led to huge differences between ninja academies. The copycat ninja school in the Kirigakure village is completely different from the original one. Ever since the third Mizukage began implementing the Blood Mist Village policy, the strict hierarchical system among ninjas and the indifference to life have been deeply engraved in the hearts of everyone in the village. Following the example of their superiors, even those students who have not yet graduated from the ninja school always have a gloomy look on their faces. Midterm Practical Test, Group 1, Mirukawa Kaito vs Iwara Ishito. As the Chunin sensei finished his long speech, he finally started to check the roster and read out the names of the first group of opponents. The tense atmosphere among the students began to relax a little. I don't know where Kaito contracted a summoning beast from. I don't know if his combat skills have improved. What a joke. Ishito has always been in the top 10 in our class's combat tests. How powerful can a summoning beast that is not even as tall as his calf be? Along with the students' whispers, a boy with black hair and black eyes, wearing a blue short-sleeved shirt and black tight pants, and with a bright smile, walked quickly to the center of the training ground. The boy's handsome and sunny appearance seemed somewhat out of place with the atmosphere of the Kirigakure village. But the most peculiar thing was that there was a light blue frog squatting on the boy's shoulder. It is only about 30 centimeters tall, but its eyes are surprisingly big, and there is a circle of cloud-like bubbles wrapped around its neck. The young man who was walking towards the field at this time seemed to be whispering something with the little frog. Seeing that his opponent was still procrastinating, Ishito became a little impatient and started to sneer. Hey, Kaito. Put away your fake smile. Are you planning to bring such a big summoning beast here to die? However, before Kaito could respond to the shouting from the other side, the Chunin sensei saw that the two of them were already in place and shouted directly, "You two, get ready." Kaito also put away his smile, took out a kunai and looked at the other party seriously. There is no such thing as the seal of conflict or the seal of reconciliation in the Kirigakure village. After the test begins, any carelessness or hesitation could result in death. Every practical class for seniors has a death quota. Start. Following the Chunin sensei's command, the two rushed towards each other like arrows from a bow. Although both were sprinting, their approaches were slightly different. Ishito charged forward very quickly, but his steps were light, like a ghost. At the same time, he held the short sword in his left hand and was ready to attack at any time, showing the unique fighting style of the Kiri ninja. Kaito's sprint was somewhat mediocre. But as he rushed forward, the blue frog on his shoulder nimbly kicked its legs and leaped backwards, vaguely hiding behind Kaito. It was obvious that it wanted to cooperate with its master to launch a surprise attack. Kaito did not give his opponent too much time to think. He used chakra bursting from his legs to speed up and blocked Ishito's fierce short sword attack with a kunai. He deftly used the force of the opponent's attack to quickly move to the right, dodging the powerful kick that followed. As Kaito moved away, the little frog that had been hiding behind him naturally appeared. Blue, water gun. He named Froki Blue. Quack. 0 = 3 inch. A stream of water as thick as an arm spun at high speed and shot towards Ishito. At the same time, Kaito also swung the kunai in his hand, directly hitting him in the face. However, facing such a pincer attack, Ishito simply opened his right hand slightly, and the short sword drew a perfect semicircle in his palm. He changed from backhand to forehand, and with a swift downward chop, he easily dispersed the rapidly approaching water pillar. He subconsciously raised his right hand to block in front of himself and accurately grabbed the kunai that was less than 5 centimeters away from his cheek. There was no time to think, and both of them chose to kick each other at the same time. Bang, x2. After 2 muffled thuds, the 2 people who were kicked chose to keep their distance again at the same time. After separating, the 2 rubbed the parts that were kicked by each other and took a break. Kaito was relatively calm, although it was a pity that the pincer attack failed. However, he was well aware of his disadvantage in physical skills before the battle began. Kaito has only just signed the contract with Blue, and they are far from having good cooperation. It would be enough if we could gain some advantage in this attack. On the contrary, Ashido found that the back of his neck was covered with cold sweat after he moved away. In fact, all his actions just now were completed subconsciously. Whether it was the water pillar attack or the kunai that shot straight at his face, he was not completely sure that he could block it. Even though he managed to escape in the end, he still accidentally scratched his right palm when grabbing the kunai. What with this guy? How in hell did he become so strong all of a sudden? That's it. The ninjutsu of this summoned beast is not even as powerful as my fist. You are just a little trickster. Ashido suppressed the nervousness in his heart and continued to speak stubbornly. Kaito looked at his opponent and instead gave his signature smile without answering. He took out another kunai from the ninja tool bag. Blue, let's go. As the two of them fought again, the students who had come to their senses on the sidelines began to discuss enthusiastically. It seems that Kaito's summoning beast is quite useful. Not only the summoning beast, do you feel that Kaito's attacks are also much more powerful than before? I guess so. Many people have seen this guy training alone after school this month. As the surrounding students talked, the battle on the field became more and more intense. In a short period of time, the two sides fought several rounds in succession. Although it seems that the two are evenly matched at this time. But Kaito knew that even with Blue interfering with his opponent with a water gun from a distance, he still would not be able to defeat Ashido. During several dodging attempts, his clothes were even cut by the opponent's sharp short sword. It seems that we still have to go according to plan. Thinking of this, Kaito no longer hesitated, pushed hard again, and suddenly widened the distance. At the same time, he reached his right hand into the ninja tool bag, as if he wanted to throw a shuriken to interfere with his opponent. Ashido would naturally not sit idly by and watch his opponent attack, and he threw out 3 shurikens at a faster speed. He exerted force with his feet and stepped forward quickly, intending to close the distance and take advantage of his close combat. Seeing 3 shurikens coming in a slightly curved shape of a Chinese character, and the space for dodging was blocked. Kaito became frightened and was hit head-on by one of the shurikens. But before Ashido could show any joyful expression. When Kaito was hit, a cloud of white smoke exploded with a bang. After the smoke quickly dissipated, the figure that appeared was not Kaito. A short, thick wooden stake with a shuriken nailed to it suddenly appeared in the air. Substitution jutsu. When did it happen? Ashido looked around in slight astonishment. After all, substitution jutsu is just one of the 3 basic jutsu. Not only does one need to make hand seals to release ninjutsu, but one also needs to prepare a substitute in advance and also needs to predict attacks. To put it bluntly, it's just a crude sleight of hand. Usually it can only be used unnoticed in a duel with a huge gap in strength, when the strong is playing tricks on the weak. Ashido actually didn't notice when Kaito formed a seal and used a substitute. Just then, a strong wind blew from behind his head. Behind. The Ashido had no time to think about it. Using the right foot as a pillar and the waist as a force, he made a standard upper-level backslash, preparing to chop the attacker's neck to force him back. At the same time, the left leg follows up as if to kick. However, Ashido's short sword did not hit the target as expected. The one who attacked him was actually the blue frog that had been attacking him with water since the beginning. The blue frog stretched out its little white hand, which was not much bigger than a cat's paw, and was about to slap him. At this moment, because he did not hear the sound of water and misjudged the incoming target, the short sword's counterattack had already missed. It's too late to change tactics. Ashido could only forcibly adjust the angle of his sidekick. Due to the sudden change of tactics, the little frog was only kicked away by the kick with little power. But it's all meaningless now. A sharp kunai was silently placed on Ashido's neck from behind. And on the arm holding the kunai, there was a blood-stained shuriken stuck. The winner of the first group of practical test is Mirukawa Kaito. Ding! You have defeated a ninja school student for the first time and unlocked the achievement Lollipop. Here you go. Kaito naturally ignored the system prompt. He nodded to the Chunin sensei who spoke, then put away his kunai and walked towards the little frog that was kicked away. Seeing that the Chunin sensei had already announced the result, Ashido didn't dare to refute anything. In the end, he could only glare at Kaito hatefully, and return to his class team in a somewhat embarrassed manner. The result of this battle was obviously beyond the expectations of the students watching the battle. The ninja school students who were watching were immediately in an uproar. They saw it clearly just now. Just when Ashito turned around to attack the sneak-attacking blue frog, the wooden stake that fell to the ground behind him suddenly banged and turned into Kaito again. That piece of wood was not a substitute jutsu, but a transformation jutsu. The little frog also followed the tactics agreed upon before the start. When it saw Kaito using the transformation jutsu, it immediately stepped forward to attack and attract the enemy's attention. Finally, Kaito, who had undone his transformation, rushed forward quickly without caring about the shuriken still stuck in his hand, and subdued Ashito with a kunai, thus achieving the final victory. Kaito actually defeated Ashito. That seemingly weak summoned beast is so useful. That's what you think. No wonder your results are so bad. Kaito's summoning beast is just a distraction. Does it matter how strong it is? Is this the point? Isn't it too much to make hand seals with one hand in the ninja tool bag? Kaito ignored the discussion of his classmates and comforted the little frog that had just been kicked and hurt. Blue, the timing of the slap was perfect, thank you so much. After saying that, Kaito put it on his shoulder again, put a sunny smile on his face again, and walked back to the group. Kaito, how did you do that last transformation? A classmate who had a good relationship with the class saw Kaito coming back and immediately stepped forward and asked. Kaito did not hide anything and took out a small sphere-shaped item wrapped in paper from his ninja tool bag and showed it to the other party. Some little things that are not good enough to be sold on the market. I was making smoke bombs in the ninja tool class, but they were failures. Later I found that the detonation effect was similar to the smoke produced by the 3 basic jutsu. Just now, I just detonated the smoke bomb, then formed hand seals in the smoke and used the transformation jutsu. What? A failed smoke bomb. So it was just luck. Kaito looked at the other person, smiled back, and didn't say anything more. Then he took out a bandage and began to bandage his arm. Although his arm was injured, Kaito was not planning to go to the infirmary to rest. After a simple bandage, he was ready to continue watching the next match. Because even though I have won, now is not the time to relax. Midterm practical test, second group, Momochi Zabuza vs Nobiko. I'm a newcomer and I'm looking forward to learning from your performance. Chapter 2 Transmigration. Chapter 2 Transmigration and System. After finishing a day of classes and training, Kaito dragged his tired body back home. It was not until he sat on the porch and looked at himself in the mirror, then he put away the fake smile on his face. He sighed helplessly. It turns out that imitating other people's lives is such a tiring thing. Blue, go put away the ninja tools first, I'll come and prepare dinner later. Quack. The little frog looked at Kaito with a little worry, then stretched out its little hand and gently patted the boy's calf. Finally, it picked up the ninja tool bag and jumped towards the tool room. Kaito looked at himself in the mirror and fell into deep thought. In fact, some more perceptive classmates and sensei have already noticed Kaito's recent changes, but fortunately, most people in the Kirigakure village are relatively indifferent and don't care too much about what happens to others. It doesn't matter what his original name was, now he is Kaito. In fact, he is not a native of this world. A month ago, he was just an ordinary person working from 9 to 5. Because he was almost hit by a truck twice, he felt that he might be unlucky, so he took a long vacation and prepared to rest at home for a while. However, when he woke up, he found that he was transmigrated to the ninja world and became a 9-year-old war orphan from the Kirigakure village. Fortunately, he inherited all the memories of the original owner after transmigration. As a half 2D fan, he can't say that he knows the anime Naruto in detail, but at least he has watched the plot in its entirety and understands its general development. Kaito naturally knew clearly what kind of place the ninja world was. Since the end of the Warring States period, the ninja village system was established in the ninja world, with the original intention of peaceful development and mutual restraint. However, the actual situation has not changed much. The Great Ninja War breaks out every 10 years or so, and local confrontations and the killing of ninjas due to missions have never stopped. Not to mention that there are some guys who are powerful but not very smart and want to exterminate entire clans, massacre villages, and destroy the world. Even the Konohagakure village where the original protagonist Uzumaki Naruto lives is not peaceful. They said that the village was built to prevent children from going to the battlefield, but every time there was a war, children in their teens or even a few years old were sent to fight on the front lines. However, Kaito is actually more miserable. The Konohagakure village at least still has superficial peace and unity. The Kirigakure village is too lazy to even do these hypocritical things, and the implementation of the blood mist policy makes the atmosphere of the entire village even more cruel and cold-blooded. However, all this is just potential danger. The biggest and most pressing impact on Kaito at the moment is the ninja school graduation exam. All students of the Kirigakure ninja school, if they want to become official ninjas, must kill a fellow student in the graduation exam, which is a cruel exam with a mortality rate of at least 50%. The graduation exam for Kaito's class is in 4 months. Moreover, as a transmigrated person who knows the plot, Kaito is under much greater pressure than ordinary students. Because he inherited the original owner's memory after transmigration, he immediately discovered that he had a classmate named Momochi Zabuza. Kaito knew clearly that this guy in the original Naruto was the one who killed all the students who took the exam when they graduated from the ninja school, forcing the Kirigakure village to cancel this cruel exam. That is to say, if Kaito cannot defeat Zabuza, his chance of passing this test is 0. As an ordinary person who transmigrated from a peaceful world, Kaito just wants to live a stable and comfortable life. At least he has to live until the Boruto era. At least by then the ninja world will already have technologies like game consoles and the internet, so he can then just be a stay-at-home in peace. Fortunately, there is always a way out. As an ordinary transmigrated person, Kaito got transmigrated with a cheat called the Almighty Pokémon Lottery System. I still can't look at the name of this system. Kaito covered his face and sighed. It has been more than a month since he transmigrated here, and Kaito has already roughly understood the general functions of this system. The system currently has 3 sections, namely, lottery, task, and achievement. He can earn gold coins through tasks and achievements, but it's a pity that these gold coins have no physical form and can only be used to draw lotteries in the system. There isn't even a system mall. Currently, there is only one type of task in the task bar, which is daily tasks. Regardless of whether he completes it or not, 4 tasks will be refreshed at midnight every day. Each task rewards 10 gold coins. If he completes all of them, he can also receive an additional 20 gold coins. After completing the tasks for more than a month, Kaito knew that the daily tasks were simple tasks like, throw the kunai 200 times, answer a class question, and help the widow next door. So recently, Kaito's classmates often see him practicing alone after school. It is not only because of his sense of urgency for the future, but sometimes he is simply completing his daily tasks. Aside from daily tasks, it is unclear how other tasks are triggered. Kaito guessed that one might have to become a ninja before taking on village missions, and there might be new types of missions. Next is the achievements module. The advantage of daily tasks is that they are stable, but probably because he has just arrived in the ninja world not long ago, Kaito has triggered various achievements in the past month. Although only the achievement of newly arrived in ninja world, which is a novice gift package, gave 300 gold coins. Other achievements like today's achievement of beating up a kid only give a pitiful 5 to 10 gold coins, but there are many different types of achievement triggers. Like tasting 10 kinds of food, talking to 100 people, and even yesterday triggering an achievement with unknown meaning. Sorry I'm late but I got lost on the path of life, because he was late for school for the first time. However, because the triggering conditions for all achievements were unknown, he tried them randomly at the beginning and found that the efficiency of active exploration was too low. He no longer focused on this aspect and began to trigger them at random. The last and most important thing is the lottery interface. According to the introduction after clicking in the lottery interface. It costs 160 gold coins to draw a lottery. A purple item is guaranteed to appear in 10 draws. A gold item is guaranteed to appear in 90 draws from the same prize pool. After a gold item is drawn, the cumulative number of draws will be reset to 0. The specific gold and purple item rewards will depend on which pool you draw the lottery. Although it is an all-around Pokémon draw, there are only 3 draw pools at the moment. One pool is currently unknown. Kaito has not yet figured out how to open it. The second is the general attribute pool, which contains a wide variety of prizes, from mutually destructive moves such as explosion, to items with unknown meanings such as charm on Meowth's head. There is also a novice-only prize pool in which he can only draw for 20 times. Because the novice pool has a 20% discount for 10 consecutive draws, Kaito, who had saved up 1,280 gold coins more than half a month ago, decisively made 10 consecutive draws from the novice pool. As a result, apart from summoning, golden item * unique, master the summoning jutsu and randomly summon a Pokémon as the host's summoning beast. This Pokémon has growth potential and the initial intimacy is full, which looks high-end, but it is actually just a Froakie that is not even level 5, the other prizes seem a bit useless. The blue items, potion, and PP supplement, can still be said to be of some use. However, he doesn't know if it's due to localization, but after the prizes were taken out, potion turned into ointment, and PP supplement directly turned into military rations pills. Kaito took out a small portion and tested it. He could only say that it was slightly better than the ointment bought from the village pharmacy, but only to a limited extent. The others are just some white items that are so inexplicable that they don't even have an introduction, such as pretty feathers, yellow cones, roasted berries, orange mail, tiny mushrooms, scrap metal, and marbles. Fortunately, there is the Pokémon Froakie, which is also a creature from another world, but a partner that can be fully trusted. Even though its combat power is not strong now, it still brings a lot of psychological comfort to Kaito. So Kaito named Froakie Mirukawa Blue, thinking that even if it evolved into Greninja, this name would always accompany it. He wants it to grow up as his partner, not just a simple summoning beast or Pokémon. Of course, out of a slightly shameful feeling, Kaito still calls it Blue more often. After this period of hard work, plus receiving today's achievement reward for beating up a kid and the daily task rewards, he finally saved up 1,305 gold coins. Kaito looked at the gold coin number on the system panel, then looked at Blue, who had packed up the ninja tools and was looking at him with a worried look on its face. "Let's eat first. We've been waiting all day. There's no need to rush." Since he had come to this ninja world full of dangers, Kaito began to consciously try to be as calm as possible. A weak ninja might be able to survive, but an impulsive, impatient, and foolish person would not live long. Anyway, there will be a lottery today, so it won't hurt to wait patiently. Kaito forced himself to calm down. He got up, changed his shoes, cooked, and ate with Blue, completing everything step by step as usual. He looked at the time and it was 10 p.m. He had already washed his hands and face. After calming down, Kaito opened the system panel. "Blue, come and pray with me." Although being a ninja requires one to face everything calmly, since the transmigration has already happened, it shouldn't be embarrassing to ask for God's protection, right? May all the gods bless us, Buddha, Arceus. Chapter 3: 10 consecutive draws. Click to win a prize. No matter whether praying to gods or Buddha is really useful, in short, he has done everything he can, and the rest is up to God. Kaito just held Blue in his arms, quietly watching the flickering lottery interface. But in a moment, all the light balls on the lottery interface condensed and exploded again. Seeing the ball of light explode, Kaito immediately stared at the panel intently, and vaguely saw several purple lights mixed in it. It's not bad. Although there is no gold like last time, it seems that there is more than one purple. In fact, Kaito was a little skeptical that the golden summoning scroll that appeared last time might have something to do with the SSR benefit for novices who got 10 consecutive draws. So this time his expectations were not that high. Now there is more than one purple, which is already a big thing for him. 10 prizes are lined up on the panel. Ability, Torrent, purple item, water attribute attack power is increased when injured. The more serious the injury, the greater the power increase, up to 100% increase in water attribute attack power. TM, water style, aqua ring, purple item, water style ninjutsu, seals are used to release a stream of water with healing effects, which can heal a certain degree of injury to the target surrounded by the water. Performing it in a water environment can save chakra consumption. Rare candy, purple item, candy full of energy. After eating, it can improve your strength, physique, chakra, and other attributes in all aspects. Super potion, blue item, can be taken orally or used externally, moderately restores the user's injuries. The other white items are Marvel scale, green poke blocks, momo cheese, sherry berry, nuggets, and salt. Kaito looked at the panel and was slightly excited. Although there was no gold, the prizes this time were obviously much more practical. Without thinking too much, Kaito had already started taking out the prizes from the panel. As a result, the first prize, Ability, Torrent, caught him off guard. Ability, Torrent, after it was taken out, it turned out to be a blue ball of light, which quickly merged into Kaito's body before he could observe it carefully. Kaito felt it carefully, and he seemed to have a better understanding of the changes in the nature of water. However, perhaps because he was not injured, the changes were not too obvious. So, I now have the Torrent ability. Kaito looked at the confused blue in his arm strangely. Although he doesn't have a very detailed understanding of Pokémon, he still knows about Torrent, which is the signature ability of the 3 starter water-type Pokémons throughout the generations. It is one of Froaka's abilities. Although it is also the classic water-attributed starter Pokémon, after so many days of training and testing together, Kaito guessed that its ability should be the hidden ability of Protean. However, the effect of ability, Torrent, is to increase the power of water attribute attacks. At the moment, let alone water attribute attacks, he hasn't even mastered a single water-style ninjutsu. Besides, reality is not a game, and getting injured will affect the combat. Does he have to perform ninjutsu while spitting blood and falling to the ground? The original body's father, as a Chunin, should know a few water-style ninjutsu. Although his mother worked at the Kirigakure hospital and was not a formal ninja, she also mastered some basic medical ninjutsu. However, the two had died in battle several years ago, and except for the house and pension, they left behind only 3 ninjutsu scrolls rank C, D, and D, namely, Water Style, Water Clone Jutsu, Water Style, Hidden Mist Jutsu, and Healing Jutsu. Kaito has only just started to learn these 3 ninjutsu on his own, and currently he has only mastered the 3 basic jutsu taught in the ninja school. Moreover, among the 3 ninjutsu, perhaps only Water Clone can have some water attribute attack effect. Injuring myself to increase the attack power of my water clone is too stupid. However, since the abilities were directly integrated into his body, Kaito had some guesses about the next prize. Sure enough, as the TM, Water Style, Aqua Ring, was taken out from the panel, the TM, which was supposed to be in the shape of a disc, turned into a light blue scroll the size of a forearm. After Kaito took the scroll in his hand, knowledge of the hand seals, usage of jutsu and principles of the ninjutsu, Water Style, Aqua Ring, instantly flooded into his head. At the same time, Kaito also learned that what he has mastered so far is only the basic application of this ninjutsu. If he draws the same skill in the future, he can enhance the effect of the ninjutsu. Of course, diligent practice or improvement of one's own strength can also increase the power of ninjutsu, and the two can be combined. Ding! You have mastered a water-style ninjutsu and unlocked the achievement Pa. 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 Ding! You have mastered the change of water attribute properties and you have mastered a water-style ninjutsu and you have unlocked the water attribute pool. The sudden system prompt interrupted Kaito's thoughts. What the hell is this achievement? I clearly learned the Aqua Ring. So does spitting count as water style? Then does this torrent ability of mine mean that when I'm seriously injured and spit on someone, its healing will increase even more? Kaito held his forehead in silence. But a new prize pool has been unlocked. So the condition for unlocking the new prize pool is to master the corresponding attribute ninjutsu. Kaito thought about it unsurely. Because my original body has already mastered the attributeless 3 basic jutsu, I initially have a general attribute pool. Looking at the opening lottery panel, there are still 3 prize pools. However, the novice pool has disappeared after the 20 draws with a 20% discount. The 3 current pools are the general attribute pool, the water attribute pool, and the pool. Pokémon has many more attributes than ninjas, and where can I learn ninjutsu like Dragon, Psychic, and Dark? And the ninja school obviously teaches basic taijutsu, and even has a special swordsmanship course because of the characteristics of Kirigakure, so why hasn't the fighting prize pool been unlocked? It seems that the system still needs to be studied. Forget it. With my current level and the amount of gold coins I have, I don't need to consider these for the time being. Kaito gave up further research on the system mechanism and tried to pass the scroll to Blue. However, Blue said that it did not learn this water-style jutsu directly. Is it a one-time thing? Or can I be the only one who can learn it instantly? When he opened the ninjutsu scroll he had just drawn, he found that there was actually text content inside the scroll, which detailed the release method and operating principle of this ninjutsu. In that case, can other people also learn this ninjutsu through practice? That's good news. Then Kaito looked at the scroll unfolded on the ground and twitched his mouth slightly. Although I haven't played much of the Pokémon series, the disc of the TM has been changed into a scroll. What the hell? This localization is quite thorough. If both the abilities and the moves can be used. With the examples of the first two prizes, Kaito reopened the receiving interface, looked at the rare candy in his hand without much thought, and threw it into his mouth. Really? As the rare candy melts in his mouth, Kaito clearly felt that his chakra limit was slowly increasing, but he didn't feel the improvement in his physical fitness as deeply. However, since it was mentioned in the system description, it must have increased. Although there is no data to show it directly, it should be a level increase. Kaito clenched his fists slightly. Sigma, Sigma. Blue looked at this guy who unceremoniously threw the candy used to upgrade Pokémon into his mouth. His big eyes were full of confusion. Haha, sorry, I'm in urgent need of improving my strength right now. If there are more candies in the future, I'll let you have a taste too. He touched Blue's head to comfort the little frog, then took out the remaining items. First, he gave the Cherry Berry and green Poke Blocks to Blue. Don't be angry, eat some of these first. Because there were no system descriptions for the white items, and Kaito didn't know their specific effects, he gave them all to Blue just like the last time he drew the berries. Green Poke Blocks, Blue looked a little embarrassed, but it frowned and swallowed it in one gulp. Kaito seemed to remember that the green Poke Blocks tasted bitter. However, the Poke Blocks should all provide some improvement in one aspect, so there won't be any problem after eating them. Pokémon has a strong ability to distinguish food, and does not just choose food based on taste. Super Potion is also good. He used the potion he drew last time to test its effect. This time, Kaito plans to keep it and try to see if he can research the formula. After all, it has been localized into an ointment, so maybe it is feasible. Kaito was very satisfied to be able to draw the nugget from the white debris. The actual object was the size of an ordinary marble, and Kaito was ready to find an opportunity to sell it. The original body's parents died in battle and he received regular pensions. Moreover, due to the strict blood mist policy, the Kirigakure village attached great importance to the protection of war orphans and the payment of pensions. But after all, they are just chunins and medical personnel, and Kaito's current funds are only enough to maintain life and basic training. Kaito is planning to put away the other miscellaneous items for the time being. Who knows, he might be able to figure out other uses for them in the future. I really made a lot of money with the 10 combos this time. The Torrent ability is not very useful before I can master the offensive water style jutsu. However, since the water style, Aqua Ring, ninjutsu is likely to be learned by others, and it happens to be a healing ninjutsu, I can make other plans for graduating from the ninja school. Kaito looked at the little frog who was busy helping to pack up beside his legs. I have the abilities and skills. Even the rare candy has an effect on me. So can I be considered a Pokémon? Chapter 4 Class. The next morning, Ninja School. Water Style, Hidden Mist Jutsu is the signature ninjutsu of our Kirigakure village. Maybe only a few of you will have the opportunity to learn this ninjutsu, but I require all of you to understand the Hidden Mist Jutsu and learn how to fight within the range of the Hidden Mist Jutsu. At the podium at the front of the classroom, the Chunin sensei is giving a lecture seriously. However, most of the students' attention was obviously not on the Chunin sensei. The two students on Kaito's right side obviously haven't recovered from the emotions of yesterday's practical test, and are excitedly discussing several exciting duels from yesterday. Swoosh boom. A kunai, with a sound of wind, brushed past the head of the student in the front row and then pierced directly into the desks of two students who were still in high spirits. The Chunin sensei looked coldly at the two students who were stunned by the sudden kunai. Why? Do you want to come up and talk about your understanding of the Hidden Mist Jutsu? What if you are lucky enough to graduate and become a ninja, but you know nothing about the Hidden Mist Jutsu? Are you prepared to stand there in the mist and wait for death with the enemy when your captain uses the Hidden Mist Jutsu in the future missions? Speak up. As the Chunin sensei's voice gradually became louder, almost all the students fell silent, focused their thoughts and looked straight ahead. However, Kaito was an exception, because just now his attention was completely attracted by the guy sitting in the first row because he was shorter than other students in the same class. It was obvious that the other party had not been listening carefully before and was staring out the window in a daze, but at the moment when the Chunin sensei threw the kunai, he suddenly turned around and showed signs of taking a defensive posture. Has Zabuza's strength really improved? It seems that he didn't use his full strength during the test yesterday. Ever since he transmigrated and found out that he was in the same class with this eyebrowless killer, and that they would take the graduation exam together, Kaito often observed Zabuza intentionally or unintentionally. Kaito inquired about the content of the previous exam, which was that all students of the same class were thrown onto an island, and each was given a token. Only those who obtained 2 tokens could board the ship and leave the island at the end of the exam to graduate from the ninja school. According to Kaito's estimation, Zabuza's strength at that time must have been obviously a level higher than these students. Perhaps 4 months later Zabuza might be strong as a Chunin, and only in this way would he be able to kill all, 100 plus, the civilian candidates taking the exam in the examination room. Yes, only civilian students take part in this cruel graduation exam, or rather, only civilian students exist in the Kirigakure Ninja School. Although the ninja school of the Kirigakure village imitates the ninja school system established by the second Hokage, it is different from the school system of Kanagakure village, where even the Hokage's own son and the genius boy from the prestigious Uchiha family will go to school with the common people. Only civilians, war orphans, and children of ninjas from small families attend the Kirigakure Ninja School. He heard that when the second Mizukage first established the ninja school, some descendants from bloodline limit clans or secret jutsu clans enrolled in the school. Bloodline limit equals Kekiigenkai. However, ever since the third Mizukage implemented the blood mist policy, capable clans have basically adopted the approach of internal training, and after passing the test, they will apply to the village to become ninjas. After all, this kind of assessment still has some element of luck, and no one wants their own children to be wasted for no reason. This gap further led to increasingly serious confrontation between the ninja factions and the civilian factions in the Kirigakure village. Kaito guessed that this was probably the reason why Zabuza did not suffer any backlash after massacring the students, but was still able to become one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist in the future. The deceased student had no background, Zabuza's behavior was in line with the rules, and he also proved his ninja talent, so naturally no one would hold him accountable. This cruel ninja world is so cold and ruthless. At first, after Kaito had just passed the period of confusion about transmigration, he began to become a little arrogant, thinking that as a transmigrated person with a golden finger, he would be able to easily defeat Zabuza in 5 months. As a result, the first lottery draw dealt him a heavy blow, as the 10 prizes had little effect on improving his combat power. From then on, Kaito realized the reality that the lottery was indeed unreliable. If one had bad luck in the lottery and did not work hard, he might not even be able to beat ordinary students of the same period in the graduation examination. The huge gap in achievement made Kaito once consider whether he should join a bloodline limit clan to survive and develop, or break his leg before the exam and try to stay in the next grade. Anyway, after Zabuza's massacre this year, the fight and elimination system will be cancelled in next year's exam, so he can become a ninja safely. After all, after coming to such a dangerous world, one must become a privileged class like a ninja. And he has a golden finger, and what he lacks is only time to develop. However, yesterday he drew the water-style medical ninjutsu, water-style, aqua ring, which gave Kaito some new ideas. After school, I still have to go to the hospital to see Aunt Keiko. However, Kaito was still thinking about his next arrangements. If an ordinary Chunin uses his full strength to perform the hidden misjutsu, with an initial range of 10 square meters, how long will it take for it to spread to cover a forest of 3,600 square meters? Kaito, you answer it. The Chunin sensei at the podium may have noticed that Kaito, who always actively answered questions in class recently, was actually daydreaming, so he immediately called on him to stand up and answer the question. All right. First of all, we can regard the conventional hidden misjutsu as a circle. The diffusion speed of the ordinary Chunin hidden misjutsu is about XX. Due to the influence of the forest on the ninjutsu, the time taken is at #%. That's a good answer. Pay attention in class. Kaito secretly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead when he sat down. When he saw Blue, who was already sleeping on the desk, he almost couldn't keep the fake smile on his face. Fortunately, these questions in the ninja school are all at the elementary school level and are combined with some ninja common sense. Also, because of his recent positive performance and leaving a good impression on all the sensei, he was not singled out as a negative example. Ding! You have given 50 correct answers in class and have unlocked the achievement Starlight Anya. Appear. Not bad, and I also achieved a new achievement by the way. In order not to offend the sensei, who seemed to be in a bad mood, Kaito decisively put aside his distracting thoughts and concentrated on listening. Besides, the courses in the ninja school would indeed be helpful for his future ninja career. The afterglow of the setting sun shone sporadically onto the playground through the thick fog. The buildings and trees on the campus were dimly visible in the fog. Students walked out of the school building in groups of 3 or 2. Kaito, aren't you going to the training ground in this direction today? A familiar classmate looked at Kaito running out in a hurry and asked in confusion. I have something to do today, so I'll talk about training you another day. Kaito responded with a hearty smile, but he did not stop and ran quickly towards the Kirigakure Hospital. The distance between the Kirigakure Hospital and the ninja school is not too far, and it is said that it was established at the same time as the Kirigakure village. Although all the ninjas and civilians in the village receive treatment in this hospital, the hospital is still not taken seriously due to the usual atmosphere of the Kirigakure village, and it looks very old compared to the school. The cylindrical stone brick building was covered with moss. If it weren't for the big word medical on it, it wouldn't be any different from the ordinary residential building next to it. Most of the people coming and going are ordinary civilians in the village. When Kaito was about to step in, he saw a figure in a white coat explaining something to a nurse in front of the building. It's strange to say, although the medical technology in the ninja world is extremely distorted. However, it was noticed early on that blood stains and stains can easily breed bacteria and cause infection to patients, and the easily dirty white color can easily detect these stains and be replaced and cleaned in time to ensure medical hygiene. At the same time, white can also help calm the patient's psychological state. So many years ago, doctors in the ninja world began to wear white coats, which is very similar to the medical system in the previous life. While Kaito was daydreaming, the doctor finished explaining everything to the nurse. When the doctor turned around, it saw Kaito standing in front of the building in a daze. Kaito, why did you decide to come here today? A middle-aged woman with long blue hair and a gentle temperament spoke first and walked towards Kaito. Seeing this, Kaito also put on his signature smile and responded obediently. Aunt Keiko, I have something I want to ask you, so I came straight here after school. Chapter 5 Medical Ninja. Nakamura Keiko is the current director of the Kirigakure Village Hospital. Wearing a clean white coat, her appearance is not particularly outstanding, but her unique temperament of gentleness and competence, coupled with her friendly smile, always makes people feel trustworthy and at ease. Kaito, it's rare for you to come and see me. It's just been a while since school ended, so you probably haven't eaten yet, right? Looking at Mirukawa Kaito, whose clothes and pants were a little messy because he had been running all the way, Nakamura Keiko walked up to Kaito and rubbed his head, then squatted down to help him tidy up. Kaito smiled helplessly. Yes, Aunt Keiko. But I usually eat after training, so I'm not hungry now. He did not avoid the hand that was rubbing his head, even though his height was not short among his peers and he was a transmigrated person. But after all, his body is only that of a 9-year-old child, so he can only get used to being treated like this by his elders. Kaito just patted the stains on his clothes and pants to show that he had already tidied them. However, in the humid weather of the Kirigakure village, this action was obviously just to get the job done. Nakamura Keiko withdrew her hand and looked at Kaito, who was doing useless work, revealing a somewhat doting smile. But she was more concerned about the first half of Kaito's sentence. Since you haven't eaten yet and I don't have many patience. Wait for me here, I'll change my clothes and take you to eat. Before Kaito could answer, Nakamura Keiko turned around and walked into the hospital. Kaito had no choice but to wait obediently where he was. In fact, he has only met Aunt Keiko twice since he got transmigrated here. From the original body's memory, he learned that she was his mother's sensei, and there may be some complicated relationship between them. She has taken good care of the original owner since his parents passed away. Although there is no such thing as a guardian in the ninja world, everything Nakamura Keiko has done is basically equivalent to being his guardian. Therefore, Mirukawa Kaito always made himself extra careful in front of her, not wanting this kind elder to notice any difference between himself and his predecessor. In his memory, although Nakamura Keiko is the director of the Kirigakure Hospital, she is not actually a ninja. In other words, she has no ninja rank in name, even though she has chakra and has mastered a variety of medical ninjutsu. But she has no combat ability and is not registered in the ninja sequence, so she can only be called a doctor. Under the current atmosphere in the Kirigakure village, the position of this doctor means that even though Nakamura Keiko has a certain status as the director of the hospital, she cannot enter the upper echelons of power in the Kirigakure village. Kaito, have you been waiting for a long time? Nakamura Keiko, wearing casual clothes, strode out of the Kirigakure hospital. No, Aunt Keiko, shall we go eat seafood ramen? I haven't eaten it for a long time. Today, it would definitely be Nakamura Keiko, as the elder, who would pay, so Kaito didn't want her to spend too much money, so he simply told directly what he wanted to eat as a child. Then let's go. Perhaps it was her habit as a doctor, although Nakamura Keiko was calm and meticulous in her words and deeds, she always walked in a hurry. The two arrived at the ramen shop before they had exchanged a few words. Boss, a bowl of tonkatsu ramen. Kaito, you're into seafood ramen, right? Nakamura Keiko was also a regular customer of this restaurant. Without much thought, she called the boss and started ordering. Yes, Aunt Keiko. I'll have a large bowl, thank you. While waiting for the meal, Kaito did not start talking about business directly, but chatted with Nakamura Keiko about his daily life and school life recently. The two of them chatted for not long before the boss brought the prepared ramen. Looking at Kaito, who put the little blue frog on his shoulder on the table and picked some shrimps from his own bowl to feed it. Nakamura Keiko, who was also eating noodles, hesitated for a moment before asking. I've been wanting to ask you this before, Kaito. Is this your summoning beast? I don't think I've ever seen one before. Yes, recently by chance I signed a summoning beast contract with Blue. RQ*, quack. When Blue heard that he was mentioned, he turned around and called out twice in a very cooperative manner. There are still certain risks in the summoning beast contract. Some summoning beast clans may even turn against their masters. You still have to be careful. Nakamura Keiko looked at Kaito with a serious look. Don't worry, Aunt Keiko. I picked up Blue when I was training near the village. He doesn't have any clan. He should be a mutant. I saw that he has chakra in his body and can perform simple ninjutsu, so I contracted him to be a summoning beast. From now on I will use him for Focus/Blue. Kaito picked out another shrimp and while telling lies, he hurriedly comforted Blue, who was suspected of retaliating and was a little angry. Seeing that Nakamura Keiko wanted to continue preaching, Kaito decisively changed the subject. Aunt Keiko, I came here mainly because I heard that the village is promoting the selection of medical ninjas recently. I want to ask, do you know the specific process? Nakamura Keiko didn't know whether she understood Kaito's intention, but she continued speaking anyway. I reported this matter to the elder Genji. Kanahagakure village has already added medical ninjas to some of the new teams. And it has been proven that it will indeed reduce ninja casualties. We in the Kirigakure village cannot fall too far behind. In fact, in the past, doctors and ninjas in the ninja world were quite clearly distinguished. Perhaps some ninjas have mastered one or two medical ninjutsu, and some doctors have certain combat capabilities. But on the battlefield, all frontline doctors form medical teams in the camps, and the wounded need to return to the camps to receive treatment. There will be no doctors joining the ninja team during daily missions, and whether the injured ninja can survive and receive treatment depends entirely on luck. Until a woman named Tsunade appeared. She was very violent and good at fighting, and had excellent medical skills. At the same time, because of her identity as the granddaughter of the first Hokage, she had a certain reputation in the entire ninja world. So when she began to vigorously promote the concept of medical ninjas in Konoha and proposed that medical ninjas join the ninja team to carry out missions together. Even while Konoha was still arguing internally, the great ninja villages had already begun to follow suit and imitate each other. What Kaito didn't expect was that the person who promoted this matter in the Kirigakure village was actually Aunt Keiko. Why, are you interested in becoming a medical ninja? Nakamura Keiko tilted her head and looked at Kaito with a little confusion. Yes, Aunt Keiko. After this midterm practical test, I realized that my combat ability is insufficient and I want to make some changes. But it seems you won this test, and your score is pretty good, right? At this point, Nakamura Keiko's eyes became even more confused. Has Aunt Keiko already known the score for yesterday's test? It just so happens that the school doctor of the ninja school is also my student. I asked him to help keep an eye on you. Well, as the director of Kirigakure Hospital, although she is not in a high position of power, there are still many conveniences in daily life. However, since it was a matter of his own life, Kaito did not feel embarrassed about being exposed and continued to speak as he had planned. I actually only relied on some tricks to win this test. My actual ability is not stronger than my opponent. I feel that I may not be able to pass the graduation exam. Failing the graduation exam means death, and Kaito is not afraid of embarrassment and deliberately makes the matter sound more serious. Sure enough, Nakamura Keiko's expression also became serious. I was the first to bring this up, and the master has already agreed and convinced the Mizukage. Elder Genji is one of the absolute top leaders of the Kirigakure village and actually has great power in the Kirigakure village. Because the Kirigakure village only cares about one thing about the successive Mizukages, and that is that the strongest one is the Mizukage. Therefore, starting from the first Mizukage, the Elder Genji has served as a think tank, handling some government affairs on behalf of the Kage. Although the authority of the Kage is unshakable, as long as the Elder Genji insists, the Mizukage will basically not object to matters that do not conflict with the will of the Mizukage. The original intention of this selection is to select a group of people from the active ninjas to learn medical ninjutsu, and then select a group of doctors who master chakra and medical ninjutsu from the hospital to train ninjas. But you may also know that most of the ninjas in the village don't value medical skills. And medical ninjas have certain requirements for chakra control and medical knowledge. So the promotion is not going smoothly at the moment. I have never considered selecting medical ninjas directly from the ninja school. If you don't have a talent for medical ninjutsu, even if I force you to join the selection, you won't be able to become a medical ninja, and returning to the ninja school may delay your training for the next few months. As Nakamura Keiko said so much, the worry on her face became more and more intense. Having talked about this topic, Kaito knew that the highlight was about to come. So he didn't rush to reply to Nakamura Keiko, but took out a scroll from his ninja tool bag and handed it to the other party. He said this shamelessly to Nakamura Keiko, who still didn't quite understand. This is a medical ninjutsu that I developed myself, water style, aqua ring. Chapter 6, Their Respective Plans. Looking at Nakamura Keiko, who looked a little dazed after getting the scroll, Kaito found it slightly funny. What Kaito gave was naturally not the original ninjutsu scroll drawn by the system lottery. Instead, he rewrote it himself last night based on the ninjutsu knowledge instilled by the system in him. Compared with the original scroll of the system, this ninjutsu has a detailed and clear explanation, and includes many subsequent training directions, usage techniques, and a series of other contents. Although the scroll written by Kaito himself has less content, it contains many more meaningless speculations and experimental processes. All he can say is that the general logic is fairly coherent, but it's more like a beginner relying on his talent to just figure out a ninjutsu that he can perform. However, even with such a scroll, Nakamura Keiko still looked at it with surprise, and looked up at Kaito from time to time. Is this a jutsu you developed yourself? After taking a quick look at the contents of the scroll, Nakamura Keiko asked in surprise. Of course, Aunt Keiko, this is something I accidentally discovered while studying the healing jutsu, left by my mother and the training notes left by my father. Although there is some luck involved, it is indeed something I developed myself. As he spoke, Kaito also appropriately pretended to have some pride on his face. But this is not completely false. After all, Kaito has been scratching his head recently looking at the ninjutsu scrolls left by his parents. It is indeed somewhat like the basic healing jutsu, or more precisely, it is the remote transmission of yang attributed healing energy through water flow. The advantages of this technique are very obvious. It is easy to learn. I estimate that the difficulty is about C-rank ninjutsu. Ordinary ninjas who do not need to know much about medical knowledge can master it. However, it cannot be used to treat injuries such as bone dislocation, nerve connection, and internal organ repair, which require professional medical knowledge. and it will save chakra in a water environment. However, for ordinary medical personnel, the change in the nature of water attributes may be a threshold. Nakamura Keiko is worthy of being the director of the Kirigakure Hospital. After just a quick glance at the scroll, she has already gained some understanding of this ninjutsu, and Kaito also added. And Keiko, although this technique does not require medical knowledge to learn, it can be used to treat minor injuries. But in fact, if it is used by professional medical personnel, the effect will be better. Through the control of water flow, the healing energy can be grasped more intuitively. And once you become proficient, if you can use a thinner stream of water, you can even let the water flow directly into the body to the injured area. Looking at Kaito, who was talking incessantly with a silly smile on his face, Nakamura Keiko looked a little dazed. Did he inherit his mother's talent? There was once a girl sitting in front of her like this, smiling as she imagined the future development of medical ninjutsu. This child is a genius in medical ninjutsu. We can't let him die in such a cruel exam. Thinking of this, Nakamura Keiko's eyes gradually became firm. Kaito, can you perform this ninjutsu now? Certainly. After hearing Kaito's answer, Nakamura Keiko condensed a sharp chakra scalpel in her right hand and actually cut a wound directly on her left arm. Now show me this jutsu once. Kaito looked somewhat helpless. Although the other party is not a ninja, it turns out that doctors in the ninja world are all ruthless people. Seeing that blood had already begun to flow from Nakamura Keiko's arm, Kaito could not delay any longer and immediately formed hand seals and released ninjutsu. However, in order to allow her to see more clearly, Kaito slightly slowed down the speed of forming the seals. Water style, aqua ring. As the seal was completed, the water in the remaining noodle soup in the bowl was actually drawn out by an invisible force, turning into a stream of clear water that flew above Kaito's palm and formed a flowing water ring. After the circle gradually grew larger, it flew towards the wound on Nakamura Keiko's arm again. As the water flowed, the wound, which was not too deep to begin with, healed immediately at a speed visible to the naked eye. Feeling the coolness on her arm, Nakamura Keiko thought for a moment and then asked the question. This jutsu seems to only extract pure water, so bacteria in the natural environment will not infect the wound, right? Nakamura Keiko obviously also saw through Kaito's intention of using noodle soup to perform ninjutsu. Yes, and chakra will make up for the lack of water, so it can be used even in a completely waterless environment. This jutsu is most effective on cuts and burns. Seeing that the treatment was so effective, Kaito was afraid that Nakamura Keiko would misunderstand, so he explained it a little more. Nakamura Keiko already had a plan in mind at this time. Kaito, come back to the hospital with me. I have some medical notes from my youth in my office. Take them back and study hard for the next few days. I will arrange for you to become a medical ninja. Nakamura Keiko lost her usual composure as she spoke, threw down the money and pulled Kaito along to leave. Seeing this, Kaito had no choice but to pick up Blue, who was still stealing the shrimps from the bowl, and quickly followed him. However, what Kaito didn't know was that at the same time the two of them were rushing back to the hospital, in another corner of the Kirigakure village, two people, one big and one small, were communicating. Zabuza, have you considered what I said before? A baby-faced ninja with green hair and purple eyes was looking seriously at Momochi Zabuza, who seemed a little indifferent. If any high-ranking ninja from the Kirigakure village were here, they would definitely be extremely shocked. Karatachi Yagura, a Jonin who has recently gained a reputation among the reformists and is on the verge of becoming a representative of civilian ninjas, actually seems to have a request for a boy from a ninja school who has not yet graduated. This is not just my personal request. This cruel graduation exam has been affecting the unity of the village at all times, and many ninjas who may become the pillars of the village in the future are dying in such a meaningless way. So you're just going to let me kill all the students during the exam? Zabuza said this with a disdainful sneer on his face. This is a necessary sacrifice. I have proposed the reform of ninja schools many times at the Jonin conference. However, most ninjas and Mizuki-sama are against this. If we don't do this, we won't be able to warn the village. In fact, Yagura also knew that his proposal would definitely be rejected. The blood mist policy was first proposed by the third Mizukage, and naturally he would not allow anyone to question his policy. As for the clan ninjas who make up the majority of the Jonin, their children will not go to ninja schools. They would rather have more civilian ninjas die. Even those few Jonin among the civilian ninjas, if they don't have children attending ninja schools, might not mind their current students going through the pain they once went through. Therefore, every time the issue of ninja school reform was proposed, it would end up in nothing. Seeing that Zabuza didn't seem to care, Yagura continued speaking. You can choose one of the 2 ninjutsu I promised you before, which is a B-rank ninjutsu. And I will ensure that you graduate successfully after completing the plan. After you graduate, I will arrange for one of my subordinates to be your leader and sensei to guide your future training. I want these 2 jutsu now. In fact, Zabuza himself also hates the current blood mist policy, and wants to change the current situation of the Kirigakure village through hard work. But that can only be his own choice. Just talking about ideals without paying any actual benefits can't make him kill all his classmates in the graduation exam. Seeing that Zabuza agreed to his conditions, Yagura also breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Zabuza is recognized as the strongest student of this class. If someone else were to carry out this plan, it would cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. No problem. If you have chosen a ninjutsu, you can tell me directly. From now on, I will arrange special training for you until the graduation exam. These 2 ninjutsu can also enhance your strength. Tisk. Although Zabuza expressed his disdain in a low voice, he did not reject Yagura's proposal. I want water style, water dragon jutsu and water style, hidden mist jutsu. Well, the hidden mist jutsu is not very suitable for dealing with ninjas from the Kirigakure village. The water dragon jutsu is not very suitable either. I suggest you change the 2 ninjutsu. Hearing that Zabuza actually wanted these 2 ninjutsu, Yagura kindly reminded Zabuza. However, Zabuza obviously did not appreciate it. He stared at Yagura and spoke again. No need, just these 2 ninjutsu will do. Looking at this somewhat stubborn young boy, Yagura thought about his strength and finally didn't say anything more. He nodded and agreed to Zabuza's request. Chapter 7, The Clouds of the Third War. More than half a month has passed since Kaito expressed his desire to become a medical ninja. Over the past half-month, Kaito often met with Nakamura Keiko to ask for some medical knowledge. However, Nakamura Keiko never took the initiative to mention the selection of medical ninjas, so Kaito did not ask any further questions, but just focused more on studying and practicing. Currently, Kaito's daily life consists of attending classes, doing daily tasks, practicing ninjutsu, and learning medical knowledge. Perhaps it's because the simpler achievements have already been triggered, the triggering frequency of Kaito's achievements has dropped significantly recently. Fortunately, the daily tasks are still stable. Kaito estimated that by the end of the month, he should be able to save up 1,600 gold coins for 10 consecutive draws. It's just that Kaito hasn't yet decided whether he should draw from a water attribute pool or a general attribute pool. Although the several golden prizes in the 2 prize pools are mouth-watering, Kaito doesn't think that his luck will be so good that he can get a golden prize in 10 or 20 draws. Therefore, it is still better to give priority to improving myself with purple items. In the water attribute pool, those water-style skills combined with the abilities he has already obtained should make his strength improvement smoother. The general attribute pool contains a variety of weird skills and items, some of which are ridiculously strong. However, if he draws cute skills such as Screech or Round, it would be a waste of draws. Just as Kaito was looking at all kinds of information on the system panel and planning his future. The conversation between 2 passers-by dressed as ninjas who walked out of the nearby dumpling shop attracted Kaito's attention. Have you heard? The 3rd Kazekage of the Sunagakure village is missing. I heard about it, but it has nothing to do with us, right? It's just like the Sunagakure village, they can even lose the Kage of the village. Indeed, Sunagakure village is getting weaker and weaker. It is simply a shame for the 5 great ninja villages. Who says it's not? At this time, Kaito, who had just finished school, was preparing to go to the Kirigakure hospital for medical knowledge training. As the 2 ninjas walked away, their conversation became unclear. However, Kaito's thoughts became confused. Because he knew that the disappearance of the 3rd Kazekage of the Sunagakure village was not completely unrelated to the Kirigakure village. Kaito vaguely remembered that it was because of the disappearance of the 3rd Kazekage that the Sunagakure village took the opportunity to attack Kanahagakure village. This incident was the beginning of the 3rd Great Ninja War. During the 2nd Great Ninja War, the Kirigakure village closed itself off from the rest of the world and did not participate in the war, which was a war consisting of the land of fire, earth, and wind regions centered in the land of rain. However, the Third Great Ninja War was a true melee, with all 5 great ninja countries participating in the war, and no village could escape. Think about the people who lived and died in the Third Great Ninja War and how brutal the wars were. Originally, Kaito, who did not have to worry about the graduation exam because he had the possibility of becoming a medical ninja, once again ignited an urgent desire to improve his own strength. Although it is not known how long the third Kazekage has been missing. However, since this rumor has already spread to the ordinary ninjas in the Kirigakure village, it is estimated that it will not be long before the Sunagakure village declares war on Kanagakure village. Upon hearing the news, Kaito suddenly felt an enormous headache. If a war really breaks out, even ordinary medical personnel will have to go to the battlefield, and he can't escape it even if he becomes a medical ninja. Moreover, if the war breaks out too early, it is even possible that this class of students will be asked to graduate early, and he doesn't know if this will disrupt his plans. Unfortunately, these things are beyond Kaito's control. He can only pray that the war will start later, or at least his own Kirigakure village will join the war later. Kaito, feeling a little depressed, was thinking about complaining to his little frog. As his hand reached his shoulder, he remembered that Blue had mastered the classic skill, Quick Attack, on his own due to his improvement in practice over the past 2 days. Perhaps he has felt the rewards of his practice, and has been obsessed with it recently, and has not accompanied Kaito out. Fortunately, with the existence of summoning jutsu, even if there are emergencies, it will not affect the combat effectiveness. Speaking of the skill, Quick Attack, it is somewhat similar to the body flicker jutsu that can change direction twice, and can add the impact force brought by rapid movement to the attack, which is a very good means of attack. It's a pity that although Kaito's overall strength is much higher than Blue's, he is unable to learn this trick because he does not have the super jumping ability brought by the little frog's unique leg structure. This results in the 4 skills that Blue currently possesses. Pound is of little use to him, Growl and Water Gun do not require hand seals and are a bit like innate abilities, and Quick Attack is not up to standard. Move, Attack, Technique, Jutsu, Skill, are all same. It may get change in next chapters if I forgot. Kaito, who wanted to secretly learn Blue's skills to improve his combat power, was unable to learn any of them. Just like that, Kaito walked to Nakamura Keiko's office with a lot on his mind. However, there was no sign of Nakamura Keiko. Kaito was used to this. As the director of the Kirigakure hospital, she was indeed quite busy with her work. Kaito sat alone in front of Nakamura Keiko's desk, opened a medical scroll, and continued to study from where he had ended yesterday. Currently, in terms of medical ninjutsu, Kaito has only learned 2, Healing Jutsu, and Water Style, Aqua Ring Jutsu, which are sufficient for use at the current stage. He put more energy into practicing the fine control of chakra and learning knowledge about human medicine. In his spare time, he would ask Nakamura Keiko for some pharmacology knowledge. This has caused Kaito's brain to be overloaded with knowledge recently, and his progress in practicing ninjutsu after returning home at night is very slow. Not only was the water clone completely unable to condense into a human form, even the simpler, hidden mist jutsu was still under exploration. Time passed quietly as Kaito was concentrating on his studies, and the sun was about to set completely. Squeak. The office door was suddenly pushed open, and Nakamura Keiko walked in looking a little tired. However, when she saw the scroll on Kaito's desk, a slightly relieved smile appeared on her face. "Aunt Keiko, you haven't eaten yet, right? I bought some dango on the way home from school." Seeing Nakamura Keiko looking tired after coming in, Kaito asked with some concern. "No, there's another surgery to be done later. I came here mainly to tell you something." Kaito seemed to realize something after hearing this. As expected, Nakamura Keiko continued. "It has been decided to select talents from the students of the ninja school for medical ninja training. The ninja school will receive a notice from the top management in the next few days. The selection will be made from the students who are about to graduate this year. Kaito, with your level it will definitely be no problem. After the selection, there will be a 2-month medical ninja training. If you pass the training successfully, you will be directly granted the qualification of genin. Doesn't this mean that it is possible for me to become a genin earlier than Zabuza?" Kaito had naturally assumed in his heart that he would pass the selection. In the current ninja school, even including the sensei, Kaito's medical level should be unique. Okay, Kaito, I still have something to do. You should go back early too. After saying this, Nakamura Keiko left the office in a hurry. The total time from the time she came in to talk to the time she left was less than 2 minutes. Kaito had no choice but to tidy up the office and then got up to go home. In the next few days, Kaito was a little absent-minded. Although he kept reminding himself that a ninja must be someone with enough patience, the most he could do was to calm himself on the surface. No wonder ninjas like Zabuza and Kakashi have to wear masks in the future. It's too difficult to control the expression of emotions. But Kaito didn't suffer for too long. 3 days later, in the morning, just as the students were getting ready and waiting for class as usual, the Chunin sensei entered the classroom and brought them some surprising news. What? Who wants to be a medical ninja? Exactly. Are medical ninjas also considered ninjas? Don't underestimate us, Ueda-sensei. We are the Blood Mist Ninja. Only a coward would want to be a doctor. I don't want to hide behind the battlefield. Most of the students showed disdain for the news brought by their head sensei. Even if there are some losers who are aware of their own abilities, they don't want to participate in the medical ninja selection under the ridicule of their classmates. Regardless of their abilities, students were trying hard to show their bravery at this time. Such was the ethos of the Kirigakure village. Even the Chunin sensei at the podium did not point out the common-sense mistake that the so-called medical ninjas were actually supposed to follow the team and fight, rather than being as powerless as doctors. But at this moment, Kaito stood up. Ueda-sensei, I hope to participate in the medical ninja selection. Chapter 8, Light Piercing the Mist. As Kaito stood up to sign up, the whole class fell silent. Even Momochi Zabuza, who was usually indifferent to everything, turned around and looked in the direction of Kaito. Ueda-sensei, I hope to participate in the medical ninja selection. Seeing that the homeroom sensei did not give him any feedback, Kaito had to remind him again. Kaito, you can go to the indoor training ground on the first floor to take the test now. Ueda-sensei seemed to be hesitant to speak at this time. No wonder, recently Kaito not only improved his theoretical scores, but also got stronger in practical tests. Ueda-sensei has already tacitly agreed that Kaito will help their class at one passing spot in the graduation examination. Now that he has the graduation spot he wants, he is actually going to become a medical ninja. The way Ueda-sensei looked at Kaito at this time was probably like in the previous life, when suddenly one day, a young student from Peking University or Fudan University in the class said, "Sensei, I don't want to study anymore, I want to learn how to operate an excavator." It was probably something like this. However, Kaito didn't need anyone's understanding. He nodded to Ueda-sensei in front of the podium and walked straight out of the classroom. After Kaito left, the classroom immediately became an uproar. I didn't expect Kaito to be such a coward. Shouldn't it be? Hasn't Kaito been practicing hard in the past month? Why would he participate in this kind of assessment? I thought this guy had gotten smarter lately, but he's still the same fool as before. All right. Let the class begin. Most of the students who had some sense could see that Ueda-sensei was not in a good mood, so they all quieted down. As if he was still a little angry, Ueda-sensei added another sentence. The most important thing for a ninja is strength. If you don't pay attention now, you may die at any time during a mission in the future. However, at this moment, Zabuza, who was sitting in the front row, was a little uneasy, and his brows were tightly furrowed. Could it be that guy Kaito knows something? Since Kaito had performed very well in recent actual combat tests, Zabuza had already used him as an imaginary enemy and had conducted many simulated battles with him. But now this guy quietly said that he wanted to be a medical ninja. Or was it because I mentioned him to Karatachi Yagura before, so he was pressured and kicked out? No matter how suspicious Zabuza is in the classroom. On the other hand, after arriving at the selection site, Kaito felt a little regretful that Aunt Keiko was not the examiner. Including himself, there were only 3 other candidates at the scene. Kaito knew the other 2 people. They were the bottom-ranked girls in Class 3 and Class 5. They probably came to participate in the selection because they were worried that they would not pass the graduation exam. However, not only were the number of people taking the test small, but even the invigilators did not seem to take this selection seriously. Two sensei were talking and laughing in a corner of the classroom, discussing something. After a while, when there were no new candidates, one of the younger sensei spoke. Each of you will perform the 3 basic jutsu once. If all of you succeed, you can go to the hospital and report. Excuse me, isn't this a medical ninja selection? A round-faced girl asked the question weakly, and it seemed that she was quite confident in her medical ninjutsu. However, this is also what Kaito is confused about. Although the 3 basic jutsu is not difficult, it seems a bit redundant for him to cram medical knowledge these days. The young examiner seemed a little impatient. We are selecting qualified ninjas for medical training. We are not testing the 3 basic jutsu. Do you know anything else? Well, that does seem to make some sense. However, even Nakamura Keiko probably didn't expect such a casual selection of medical ninjas. He hadn't learned any of the 3 basic jutsu in the ninja school for 3 years, and he had some problems of his own. Kaito didn't care about the 2 girls next to him. He just started to make seals and performed the 3 basic jutsus one by one. There was no fancy showmanship. After completing jutsu, he looked at the 2 examiners. Sure, just fill out this form and report to the hospital today. The examiner took out a blank form with a stamp on it and signaled Kaito to leave quickly. Ding! You have dropped out from ninja school and unlocked the achievement, the first step to becoming the richest man. How can I be considered a dropout? And I'm the richest man. Kaito walked out of the school while complaining about this unscrupulous system achievement, completely ignoring the helpless looks of the 2 girls behind him. They chose to participate in the medical ninja selection but failed. It is estimated that their days in the ninja school will be even more difficult. The Kirigakure village hospital. Everything in front of me was still shrouded in the mist of the Kirigakure village that lingered all year round, and seemed a little hazy. Although his strength might surpass Momochi Zabuza in 3 months, the 3rd great ninja war was on the verge of breaking out, and all that he had accomplished with all his efforts was just an escape. But at this moment, a ray of light seemed to penetrate the mist and reach the depths of his soul. There was a glimmer in Kaito's dark pupils, and a smile appeared on his face unconsciously. This was the first time he smiled from the bottom of his heart since he transmigrated here. Kaito took a deep breath, and even the humid air of the Kirigakure village seemed to have a hint of sweetness. Hey! Kid, what are you doing blocking the hospital entrance? You're sniffing around, are you a pervert? A female voice that was still a little childish but full of anger came from behind Kaito. It's okay, Mei, this kid might be thinking about something important. Kaito turned around and saw 2 people, one tall and one short, who were also dressed as ninjas. The person who spoke at this time was a man in his 20s, wearing a Jonin vest and with gray-blue hair. The girl standing next to him, who was about the same height as him and had short reddish-brown hair, was staring at him angrily. Sorry. I'll go in right away. Kaito hid the look in his eyes for a moment, apologized to the 2 of them with a somewhat embarrassed expression, and walked quickly towards the hospital. He turned back and asked as he walked. I'm quite familiar with this part of the hospital. What do you 2 need? I can help. Why do you care? The girl obviously didn't appreciate it and walked towards the hospital stairs without even looking at Kaito. The young Jonin simply nodded to Kaito and followed. Terumi Mei and Ao. They looked like Jonin sensei and the team members. It was morning and there were not many people on the first floor of the hospital. Kaito stood there, watching the 2 people going up the stairs, touched his chin and thought. I didn't expect these 2 knew each other so long ago. No wonder after Terumi Mei became the Mizukage, Ao was able to serve as the Kage's confidant and bodyguard. But I didn't expect that when she was little, Terumi Mei was a complete tomboy. She didn't have any trace of the mature lady she became later. What Kaito didn't know was that the 2 people who went upstairs were also talking about him. That kid just now seemed to recognize us. Ao sensed that someone was looking at them when they went upstairs just now. I think he recognized you, sensei. After all, you are still a young Jonin in the village. It's not surprising that he recognized you. Maybe. He doesn't have a forehead protector, so he looks like a student from the ninja school. I just don't know why he's in the hospital at this time. Never mind, none of this matters. Goda and Kugawa are injured and in the hospital again. This mission wasn't difficult at all. We must teach them a lesson this time. The angry Terumi obviously didn't take the person who just happened to meet her seriously, but was ready to teach her two reckless teammates a lesson first. Chapter 9, Another Lottery. The 2-month medical ninja training passed in a flash as Kaito studied day and night. If Kaito hadn't reminded everyone to pack their bags after the training yesterday, he wouldn't have even realized that 2 months had passed. "Kaito, what are you going to do after the training is over?" A genin who was only a few years older than Kaito greeted him and asked. "You ninjas must have returned to your original teams. Kaito should be returning to the hospital with us to await the village's arrangements, right?" The young man next to him, who was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt and looked neither like a doctor nor a ninja, gave the answer on behalf of Kaito. "What do you mean by us ninjas? Now you are a ninja too. Don't embarrass us blood-mist ninjas." Seeing that the two were about to quarrel, Kaito immediately spoke up to interrupt the quarrel. "I plan to go home first. After all, I haven't been back for 2 months. After that, I have to go to the village to register as a ninja. The next step depends on the village's arrangements." Before coming, Kaito had not expected that this training camp would be a closed training camp. On the first day of the training, everyone was taken to a small island near the Kirigakure village. There was no one else except the trainees and a few persons in charge. This time, it was actually more about mutual learning between the doctors and ninjas who came for training. Finally, several senior doctors and senior ninjas will complete the teaching of the designated courses. At first, everyone looked down on Kaito because of his identity as a ninja student. However, after a few days of study, everyone discovered that this 9-year-old boy had made certain achievements in both ninja and medical care. Later on, what surprised everyone even more was that the medical ninjutsu, water style, aqua ring, that they learned in class was actually developed by this young boy who hadn't even graduated from the ninja school yet. Of course, there is no rule in the Kirigakure village that requires ninjas to hand over the ninjutsu they have developed to the village, otherwise those clans with secret techniques would simply rebel. However, considering that the aqua ring was not a very advanced ninjutsu, Kaito decided to hand it over to the village after discussing it with Nakamura Keiko. It would be a basic ninjutsu for every medical ninja to learn, as a stepping stone for himself. After that, Kaito's popularity on the entire island suddenly improved. Whether it is ninjas or doctors, those who can come to participate in the medical ninja training are more or less different from the cold atmosphere of the Kirigakure village. There was no competition in this training, but rather they learned from each other, so after 2 months everyone had a pretty good relationship. "I don't want to chat with you anymore. I'm leaving first." As soon as the boat carrying the students back to the port docked, Kaito hurriedly picked up Blue and ran home. "This kid, is it necessary to be so anxious to go home?" Kaito was of course anxious, because he still had 4,120 gold coins on him and was waiting to go home and do 2 10-draw combos. Because of the closed training camp on the island, Kaito only tried to draw once when he had accumulated 10 consecutive draws not long after arriving on the island. Considering that although there are a lot of good things in the general attribute pool, there are also a lot of disappointing items and skills. If he drew something like tail whip or double slap that had no clear meaning, he would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. At this stage when his strength is relatively weak, the improvement of the water attribute pool is more stable, so Kaito decisively went for the water attribute pool. After drawing the lottery, Kaito realized that it would be difficult to explain if he didn't go anywhere but suddenly had a bunch of messy things on his body. In the end, he only received 1 purple item, rare candy, and ate it. He didn't rush to claim the other prizes he drew. After all, once the prizes were materialized, they could not be put back. If all the prizes have not been collected, he will naturally not be able to continue the lottery. Fortunately, daily tasks and achievements have little impact. The system even humanely provides tasks such as, cut down 5 trees, catch a pound of fish, practice, and study, which can be easily completed even on the island. Kaito watched in agony as the gold coins increased but was unable to convert them into strength immediately. After entering the house, Kaito took 2 deep breaths to calm himself down. First, let's take out the prizes that were not taken out before. Except for the rare candy, which was taken out and eaten by Kaito before, the other 9 items are. Sound bomb, blue item. When thrown to the ground, it will make a loud noise, disturbing the enemy and causing a small amount of sonic damage. Big pearl, Rattata's front teeth, Vulpix's hair, blue mail, yarn ball, orange cup, oil, *2. After Kaito received the prize, he just glanced at it and put it aside, planning to sort it out together after finishing the 2 10-draws. After all, he has looked at these items to be collected countless times when he was bored on the island before. After rubbing his hands and praying silently in his heart, Kaito opened the water attribute pool again. Click, 20 consecutive draws. The lottery light ball that had been seen 3 times this time turned into 2 balls jumping at the same time, but the purple light this time was obviously much weaker than the previous explosion. 3 colors of light shot out, transforming into 20 prizes that were presented one by one. TM, Water Style, Water Shuriken, Purple Item, Water Style Ninjutsu. After performing the hand seal, a Water Shuriken will be formed. The Water Shuriken will fly out at a very high speed to attack the enemy. Performing it in a water environment can save chakra consumption. TM, Water Style, Aqua Jet, Purple Item, Water Style Ninjutsu. After performing the hand seal, a strong jet of water will condense under the feet, allowing the caster to move at high speed. Performing it in a water environment can save chakra consumption. Power Anklet, Blue Item, wearing it will reduce your own speed, but increase the efficiency of speed training. Antidote, Blue Item, after taking it, it can remove most harmful toxins. Dugong's Whiskers, Goldine's Horn, Repel, Tiny Bamboo Shoot, Sweet Honey, Wood, *2, Poke Blocks, *3, Berries, *6. After Kaito took out all the items, his happy eyes narrowed into slits. He picked up the still somewhat confused Blue, grabbed his little hand without saying a word and gave him a high five. Haha, now I have the ability to attack, move, and heal. Please call me an all-round warrior. And Blue, I actually learned your signature skill first. What do you think? Are you envious? Quack. Seeing Kaito going crazy, the little frog had no choice but to cooperate and croaked. After a while, Kaito calmed down and decided to learn the 2 ninjutsu scrolls first. Although the system only instills the basic use of the ninjutsu, he still needs to practice more on his own later, but it is much more convenient than for ordinary people to learn ninjutsu, and he will have a general understanding of the ninjutsu he draws. As for the rest, the Power Anklet is a good training item, a bit similar to Rock Lee's leg weights. Although it is a blue item, it should also have a good training effect. Kaito directly tied the item around his ankle to feel it. The speed will indeed decrease, but it will not affect daily life. In this case, Kaito plans to wear this power anklet all the time. Nothing is too much when it comes to helping improve one's strength. What a pity. I am now a standard water-style ninja. My combat power will drop rapidly if I leave the water environment. With my current chakra level, I can't use these ninjutsu many times unless I'm near water. Although he has eaten the rare candy twice, according to Kaito's self-perception, the chakra in his body may not have reached the level of an ordinary Chunin. As expected, since this body has no special physique and is still too young, its chakra capacity must be a shortcoming. It would be best if I could learn another jutsu to create water. The water style, Great Exploding Water Colliding Wave, is probably too much of a luxury with my chakra. I think I can find a chance to learn the water style, Water Colliding Wave, or the water style, Exploding Water Colliding Wave. Kaito regretted that he did not exchange for a corresponding ninjutsu when he handed in the water style, Aqua Ring. Before, he felt that the C-rank ninjutsu given by the village were a bit bad. Water ninjutsu can be obtained through lottery, and medical ninjutsu can be taught by Nakamura Keiko. In the end, he just exchanged it for monetary compensation. Unexpectedly, what he lacked now was a ninjutsu to create water. But I don't have a sensei right now, and I won't become a ninja until tomorrow. I don't even have a channel to learn ninjutsu. Kaito thought as he packed other things. Although there are still many shortcomings, the nearly 2 months of waiting did not disappoint me. Chapter 10 Limited Time Event Prize Pool. The next morning, Kaito packed up early today and went to the Mizukage building to register as a ninja. This was the first time that Kaito walked into this cylindrical building with a big water character on it. Before, he had only seen it from a distance. The creator of this world seems to have a special fondness for cylindrical buildings. In Kaito's impression of his previous life, among the 5 great ninja villages, it seems that only the Kanahigakure village where the protagonist is located has some architectural combinations of various shapes and colors. The other 4 great ninja villages and even some small villages are mainly cylindrical buildings. However, although they are also cylindrical in shape, the buildings in the Kirigakure village also have their own characteristics. Because the location of the Kirigakure village is full of ups and downs, most of the buildings are distributed between the mountains. Sometimes, a distance that is not far in a straight line requires walking around for hundreds of meters of stone steps. Perhaps in order to highlight the status of Mizukage, the Mizukage building is built on the gentle slope of a high mountain. Below the mountain is a semi-open square that has been hollowed out and looks a bit like a giant bridge hole. It is used to receive ordinary civilians who are here to issue tasks. The circular building above the bridge is where the Mizukage and Kirigakure senior executives work. To enter the Mizukage building, one has to climb a long stone staircase. Fortunately, most of the people coming and going on the upper floors are ninjas, so it is not a hassle. The teams that are currently short of personnel and need to be supplemented have already been assigned medical ninjas who have been transferred from doctors to join them. As for you, there is exactly 1 month left before this class of ninja school students will graduate. There will be many new genin teams, and we will arrange for you to form a team with genin of the same period as you, so that it will be easier for you to get along with each other. The 2 ninjas at the registry, one fat and one thin, simply checked Kaito's information. After filling out the form, they arranged Kaito's future appointments one by one. If Zabuza goes on a killing spree in a month, we probably won't even be able to put a team together. I'm not going to team up with Zabuza, am I? Kaito silently complained in his heart. So what plans does the village have for me during this month? Since he is already here, he might as well ask one more question to avoid missing anything. You can make your own arrangements, but I suggest you go to the Kirigakure hospital. Yes, there are several medical ninjas who have not yet been assigned to a team. Due to their previous roles as doctors, they are currently back at work at the hospital awaiting assignment. Otherwise, you can practice at home by yourself, but don't forget about coming when the graduates are divided into teams. Looking at the 2 people singing in unison as if they were performing a crosstalk, Kaito felt that his head was full of black lines. These 2 ninjas were actually pretty good, and they were very enthusiastic, unlike the people in the blood mist. Maybe the work at the ninja registry was too idle, so these 2 were a bit talkative. This made Kaito think of the 2 Konohagakure village gate gods, Kamizuki Izumo and Higane Kotetsu. Thank you both, goodbye. Seeing that the 2 people seemed to have not talked enough, Kaito decisively took his forehead protector and turned away. Ding! You have become a genin and have unlocked the achievement, you are now invincible, go save the world. I'm not a genin from Konoha. The genin from the Kirigakure village are saving the world with their heads. Kaito complained in his heart while opening the achievement panel. He was instantly filled with surprise. He didn't expect that the achievement of becoming a genin would come with a reward of 300 gold coins. Such an achievement reward had only happened once before, and it was a reward for transmigration. If that's the case, the rewards for Chunin and Jonin should be pretty good, right? It's a pity that there are only Jonin, Chunin, and genin. Other than Konoha, other villages don't have the luxury to set up the position of special Jonin. After receiving a large reward, Kaito walked out of the Mizukage building with some joy, tying the ninja forehead protector on his left arm as he walked. Although this thing is called a forehead protector, if you get hit on the head during a real battle, it probably won't be able to save your life. It is more convenient to wear it on the arm. It can be used as an armband to indicate identity without affecting daily activities. Maybe it will be possible. After defeating the enemy, I will tear off the forehead protector tied on my arm and shout, "Actually, I am a top chef." Kaito was smiling happily, with all these jokes that no one in this world could understand in his mind, as he walked towards the Kirigakure hospital, ready to tell Aunt Keiko the good news. The other ninjas nearby did not find it strange to see Kaito grinning foolishly. I guess this is a child from a certain family who is just too happy to have just passed the ninja graduation exam. However, it seemed that God couldn't bear to see Kaito so happy over such a small thing. Ding! The third great ninja war has officially begun, unlocking the achievement S3. Ding! The limited time event lottery pool, survival pool, is open. The prize pool will be closed after the event ends. The sudden system prompt instantly interrupted Kaito's good mood. He didn't expect that the third great ninja war would begin just after he became a genin. The limited-time event prize pool prompted by the system also gave Kaito a bad feeling, and he quickly opened the system panel. Although the achievement unlocked during the Third Great Ninja War also gives 300 gold coins, there are a lot of good things in the event's survival pool. But Kaito was not happy at all at this moment. Why is the limited-time event only 30 days? Kaito carefully looked through this survival prize pool and found that it was full of life-saving items and skills. Among the purple items alone, there are prizes that can be called magical skills such as Protect, Mirror Coat, and Disguise. Even the abilities of legendary Pokémon such as Dauntless Shield and Prism Armor were seen in golden items. Even without mentioning the quality of the prizes, Kaito saw several skills with different attributes in this non-attribute prize pool. If he could draw a few more skills, he might be able to unlock some new attribute prize pools. But he remembered that he had just drawn 2 10-draws yesterday. His remaining gold coins, plus the 600 gold coins from today's 2 achievement rewards, are only a total of 1,520 gold coins. Even if he adds the daily tasks and achievements for the next 30 days, it will probably be only about 20 consecutive draws. Kaito has never believed that his luck could go beyond the guaranteed payout, and with each of these life-saving prizes, his chances of survival on the battlefield will increase by 1 point. Rounding it off, he feels like he missed out on 100 million. What makes him even more uncomfortable is that the guaranteed times for different prize pools do not accumulate with each other. However, considering his own safety, Kaito still decided to draw from the survival prize pool even if it would waste the guaranteed number of times. Kaito now feels like he has just come out of the mall after buying discounted vegetables and has only 20 yuan left, and then he runs into a restaurant on the corner that says it has opened a new store today and offers unlimited meals for 99 yuan. Forget it. Life is unpredictable. I guess I need to save some gold coins properly in the future. However, the system prompted that the Third Great Ninja War had begun, and it should only be the war between Sunagakure Village and Kanahagakure Village, and he would have a short period of time to develop. After thinking about it, Kaito decided to follow his original plan and continue to go to the Kirigakure hospital to meet Nakamura Keiko first. However, in the Mizukage building where Kaito had just left, the third Mizukage, who had received an urgent secret report from Ninja Eagle, also frowned. Call all the Jonin in the village who are not currently on a mission to come to the meeting. Chapter 11, Jonin Conference. In the Mizukage building, in the meeting room where the Jonin meetings were held. The third Mizukage sat at the front of the conference room, and the elder Genji sat in the position below the Mizukage. The Jonin in the village who received the notice arrived here one after another. Mizukage-sama, all the Jonin in the village who are not currently on missions have arrived. The Jonin commander, Karatachi Yagura, reported softly to the Mizukage. No emotion could be seen on his slightly aged face. As the third Mizukage who had participated in the first 5 Kage conference, he was the oldest among the 5 current Kages. The third Mizukage has been in charge of the Kirigakure village for nearly 40 years. His long rule and cruel blood mist policy have made the majesty of this Kage deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Although he was just sitting on an ordinary chair, he exuded an unquestionable aura. The meticulous grooming of his graying hair seemed to illustrate the old man's rigor and self-discipline. Those sharp eyes seemed to be able to see into people's hearts as they scanned the faces of the patriarchs of the ninja clans, the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, and the young Jonin below. Suddenly realizing that there were only a few ninjas who had truly survived the Warring States period, the third Mizukage suddenly felt a little bored. Elder Genji, please tell me about the situation. Yes, Mizukage-sama. Elder Genji stood up and spoke, leaning on a cane that was taller than himself. We received an urgent report this morning that the 4th Kazekage has succeeded to the throne. The Sunagakure village condemned the Kanahagakure village for secretly killing the 3rd Kazekage. They also pushed the Land of Wind to formally declare war on the Land of Fire. This news did not cause any commotion. After all, the Kazekage had disappeared more than 2 months ago, and subsequent news came out saying that Kanahagakure village was related to this matter. Some of the more perceptive Jonin have realized that war may not be far away. Seeing this, Elder Genji continued speaking. Just when the meeting was called, the second piece of information was delivered. The advance team of the Sunagakure village has entered the border of the Land of Rivers, and the supporting ninjas from Kanahagakure village should arrive at the border of the Land of Fire soon. The Land of Rivers is a small country between the Land of Wind and the Land of Fire. In times of peace, it serves as a buffer zone between the two great ninja countries, but in times of war it often becomes a battlefield between the great powers. After hearing the latest information, the senior ninjas below began to discuss a little. It seems that the Sunagakure village had clearly planned to declare war in advance. Although it was the Land of Fire that was attacked, the advance troops had already entered the Land of Rivers, and the Kirigakure village did not receive any news in advance. It is obvious that this time the Sunagakure village does not want to stop the war within the borders of the Land of Rivers, but wants to go deep into the Land of Fire and bite off a piece of meat from Konohagakure village. Currently, the Land of Earth and the Land of Lightning have not issued any statement. The first purpose of this meeting is to give the daimyo the intelligence we received from the Kirigakure village and the internal opinions on this war. Secondly, no matter what the outcome of the meeting is, the Kirigakure village will begin preparations for war. Starting tomorrow, some of the village's daily tasks will be reduced to ensure that there is sufficient combat power when needed. After saying this, the elder Genji coughed twice, then turned and looked at the third Mizukage. I know those brats Inoki and third Reikage very well. They are not quiet guys. They will definitely take some action later. The third Mizukage also made a comment after seeing the elder Genji finish speaking, but the only one who could call a 50-year-old Inoki a brat was probably this Mizukage. Third Mizukage-sama, there is no problem with preparing for war. Our Kagaya clan is ready to fight at any time. But if the number of missions is reduced, I will not be able to explain to my clan members. The speaker was Kagaya Tatsuya, the current patriarch of the Kagaya clan. The other Jonin were no longer surprised by this situation. They took it for granted that whatever was said by this clan was not very smart and this clan only knew how to fight was natural. This is not what this meeting is about. This is an order from the village. The third Mizukage did not get angry, but expressed his dissatisfaction in a slightly heavier tone. It was obvious that he did not want to bother with such a brainless guy. Then, third Mizukage-sama, do we need to let some students of the ninja school graduate early? A ninja from the Bloodline Limit clan next to Kagaya Tatsuya mentioned this. A new batch of genin will graduate in a month. The war hasn't even started yet, so it shouldn't be that serious, right? When Karatachi Yagura heard the ninja's proposal, he immediately retorted nervously. That's not necessary at the moment. The third Mizukage looked at Karatachi Yagura meaningfully, but also expressed his approval of what he said. Some familiar Jonin had already started discussing in groups of 3 or 4. Third Mizukage-sama, the Kirigakure village has been developing well in recent years. Given our geographical location, no great ninja country will take the initiative to attack us. Do we not need to participate in the battlefield on the Konohagakure village continent? Among the Jonin present, Ao was one of the younger ones, but he still took the initiative to put forward his own ideas. The daimyo has always been very dissatisfied with the fact that our Kirigakure did not participate in the last great ninja war. He has repeatedly mentioned that he hopes we can seize a few ports in the Land of Fire so as to expand the trade market in the Land of Water. This time it was Elder Genji who gave the answer. As an elder who often dealt with village affairs, he had to communicate with the daimyo mansion on a daily basis. Ao, what nonsense are you talking about? It has only been a few years since the Second Great Ninja War. Konohagakure village must not have recovered yet. Now is a good opportunity for us in the Kirigakure village. The tall figure of the Suikezen Fuguki looked down at Ao, with a hint of disdain in his tone. Indeed, the Land of Earth and the Land of Lightning will certainly not miss the opportunity to take a bite out of the Land of Fire. The Land of Fire has occupied those lands for too long. Biwa Juzo also gave a cruel smile and echoed it at the right time. As members of the 7 ninja swordsmen, although none of them were convinced of each other, they all clearly shared the same desire to kill enemies on the battlefield. In response to this, more Jonin also responded and echoed one by one. Obviously, most of the ninjas in the Blood Mist village were still feeling a bit resentful about the Kirigakure village not participating in the last great ninja war. However, due to the suppression of the third Mizukage, there was nothing they could do. Fortunately, it has only been a few years, and it is clear that the conflict between the Sunagakure village and Konohagakure village is no longer a small-scale conflict. With the war on the verge of breaking out, actively participating in this war is what the warmongers in the Kirigakure village want. It seems that everyone is still eager for war, so I will inform the daimyo after the meeting. Issue a condemnation to Konohagakure village in the name of the land of water as soon as possible. At this moment, a hint of cruelty flashed in the slightly old eyes of the third Mizukage. At the first 5 Kage conference, the guards brought by the Kage from each village eventually became the second Kage of their respective villages, and only he became the third Kage. Although at that time it was the second Mizukage Hozuki Gungetsu who was supposed to serve as a bodyguard, but he was seriously injured and unconscious due to a battle with his mortal enemy, the second Tsuchikage, and was unable to attend. Only then did he have the opportunity to accompany the first Mizukage Byakuren to attend the 5 Kage conference. And that Gaimu ended up accompanying the first Tsuchikage to the meeting, covered in bandages. However, the third Mizukage has always been brooding over this matter, and has always wanted to prove that he is a more qualified Mizukage. However, in the first Great Ninja War, the first Mizukage and Hozuki Gungetsu, who was already the second Mizukage, were both killed in the battle. Although he was appointed as the third Mizukage in a time of crisis, the Kirigakure village was no longer able to participate in the war and was forced to retreat back to the land of water, resulting in the third Mizukage not being able to prove himself at the best time. Later, during the Second Great Ninja War, the Kirigakure village had just experienced a rebellion and its strength was somewhat lacking. They could only restrain like the Land of Lightning, which also did not participate in the war, and watch the other 3 countries fighting fiercely. In the end, even Hanzo of the Omega-Kure village gained the reputation of a demigod by stepping on the 3 great ninja countries. The third Mizukage, who had never been able to prove himself in the ninja world, was actually the one who most wanted the Land of Water to join the war among those present. At this moment, the Kirigakure village is already strong in manpower and the elderly third Mizukage will never miss such an opportunity again. But no Kage dies of old age in this position. This oldest Kage, who has fought all the way back from the Warring States period, can no longer hide the fierceness in his eyes. Everyone, get ready for the coming war. Chapter 12 Terumi May. Wednesday, Training Ground Number 11 in Kirigakure Village. Obviously, the Jonin meeting of the Kirigakure village a few days ago would not reach the ears of the new genin, Mirukawa Kaito. Kaito still trains as usual every day, accumulating gold coins and improving his strength. Although he has accumulated enough gold coins for a Tendra, both the medical knowledge and the newly acquired water-style ninjutsu are enough for Kaito to study for a while. So after thinking about it, he decided to withdraw all of them at once near the end of the event. It's just that he is not a student at a ninja school now, and he doesn't have a sensei to lead the team. These days, after getting off work at the hospital, Kaito came to this small training ground in a remote area of the Kirigakure village to practice. After completing his daily training as usual, Kaito looked at the time and prepared to have a sparring session with Blue before going home. After one man and one frog stood facing each other, Kaito signaled Blue to start the sparring immediately. "Blue, get ready, it's about to begin." Blue also called out with a serious face. Quack. Recently, Kaito's strength has improved very quickly. Even though the Froki has been training every day, the gap in strength between the two is getting bigger and bigger, which makes him very annoyed. Following the sound of Kaito. Start. The 2 shurikens in Kaito's hands were thrown out instantly, drawing 2 graceful arcs in the air and flying towards Blue. Froki didn't panic at all. He pulled 2 bubbles off his bubble scarf with his hands. He threw one to the left and one to the right, intercepting the 2 incoming shurikens in midair and shooting them down. This kind of bubble is the innate ability of Froki. Although it is not very effective for attack, its defensive ability is very good. With the strength of an ordinary genin, even if Blue didn't throw the bubble out but was attacked by shuriken on the neck, he wouldn't be hurt at all. Seeing that the shuriken was intercepted, Kaito was not discouraged. He just quickened his pace to get closer to Blue. Due to his body size, Blue is currently always at a disadvantage in strength confrontations. After a few simple rounds of fighting, he immediately changed his strategy, tensed his legs to accumulate strength, and used the quick attack to create distance. Although Kaito looked at this with some envy, he was not without a solution. As he ran forward, he immediately formed seals with his hands and released ninjutsu. Water style, aqua jet. 2 streams of water immediately gushed out from under Kaito's feet. The strong thrust also increased his forward speed sharply, and Kaito's body was lifted slightly off the ground by the strong thrust of the water. But this is not the end yet. Kaito continued to make seals. Water style, water shuriken. As the second ninjutsu was released, the water sprayed from the feet behind him miraculously flowed back into Kaito's hands, gradually condensing into a shuriken made of water. As the water shuriken spun rapidly in Kaito's hand, it expanded to a diameter of nearly 30 centimeters in an instant. The ordinary standard shurikens are often less than 10 centimeters in size for easy carrying and use. Looking at the water shuriken in his master's hand, which was almost as big as himself, Blue's face turned pale instantly. He immediately leaped into the air quickly, opened his mouth and used the water gun, using the reaction force of the water flow to fly backwards. Unexpectedly, Kaito dodged the water gun with a light flash, and then continued to move forward. What was even more surprising was that after the water flow from the water gun flew over Kaito, it drew a U-shape in the air and merged into the water shuriken that was still growing. Seeing this, Blue could only kick the tree trunk behind him with his legs and use quick attack again. His small body borrowed momentum twice in the forest, like a blue lightning, and he quickly avoided his master's pursuit. Seeing this, Kaito smiled, stretched his right arm backwards, and his whole body was like a fully drawn bow. He suddenly swung the water shuriken in his hand towards the big tree where Blue had used leverage. However, at the moment when the water shuriken flew out, Kaito was also dumbfounded. WTF? Why is it so big? A large shuriken with a diameter of more than 60 centimeters, accompanied by the sound of wind and water splashes, flew out at high speed like an afterimage, instantly cutting down several large trees that could be hugged by one person. It then hit an open space and exploded with a loud bang. The violent explosion turned the area into a mess in an instant. The soil flew everywhere, and the lawn and low bushes were knocked all over the place by the exploding airflow and flying water droplets. Seeing this scene, even though he was the instigator of all this, Kaito couldn't help but secretly click his tongue. Since he had been looking forward when he rushed forward, Kaito only knew through a rough feel before throwing the water shuriken that this shuriken, which contained all his remaining chakra, should be a bit big. Of course, he couldn't just use this kind of attacking ninjutsu directly at Blue. Kaito only threw it towards the open space after seeing Blue completely avoid it. He just didn't expect it to be so outrageously powerful. When Kaito sat down on the spot exhausted, Blue came to his side with an angry expression. Haha, Blue, you win this time. I have no chakra left now. Kaito looked at Blue's expression and wanted to reach out and touch his head to comfort him. However, Blue, who was a little angry, turned away and avoided the touch. Sorry. It was just a sudden idea at the beginning to use the large amount of water generated by the water jet to perform the flying water shuriken. I didn't expect it to be so powerful. Seeing his little frog so angry, Kaito immediately clasped his hands together and sincerely apologized to Blue. Perhaps thinking of the scene where the water gun he used was also sucked in, Blue stopped making a fuss. He jumped and went to pick up the two shurikens that Kaito had thrown before. Kaito lay down on the grass and looked at the sun in the sky through the thick mist on the training ground. It would be nice if I could live such a simple life forever. Kaito was lying down and thinking about life when a figure suddenly stretched out its head from above him and blocked the sunlight. Hey! Kid! It was you who just released it randomly in the training ground. Why is it you? Because the person was facing away from the sun, Kaito didn't recognize who it was at first, but the voice sounded familiar. However, out of precaution, Kaito turned over and stood up immediately. What he didn't expect was that the person who came was Terumi Mei, whom he had met once before. The black-haired boy wearing a blue short-sleeved shirt brushed off the grass debris on his body and stood up in embarrassment, while the girl with short brown hair stood with her hands on her hips, waiting for the other person angrily. Why is it you again? Last time you were blocking the door at the hospital, and this time you were throwing ninjutsu at the training ground. I'm sorry, I haven't seen anyone here at this training ground these past few days, so I wasn't paying much attention just now. Kaito naturally didn't want to have any conflict with a girl of this age, so he didn't pay too much attention to the other party's tone of voice. Seeing Kaito's good attitude, Mei felt a little embarrassed. But she still insisted. I am a formal ninja, but I have been on a mission and have not been here for training. I have been training in this training ground before. At this point, Mei noticed that the Kirigakure ninja emblem on Kaito's arm had been changed into an armband. Are you the village's genin? Why haven't I heard of you before? Last time we met, you didn't seem to be wearing a forehead protector. The 3 questions were asked in rapid succession, leaving Kaito speechless. Are we familiar with each other? He doesn't mind having a good relationship with the future 5th Mizukage, but wasn't Terumi-Mei too cocky when she was a child? But never mind, all little kids are probably like this. I just became a medical ninja a few days ago. It's normal that you don't know me. After saying this, he felt that if he didn't interrupt, Terumi-Mei would probably keep asking questions one after another. Just at this moment, Blue also jumped over with 2 shurikens in his arms. Kaito picked up Blue and put him on his shoulder, ready to leave. Seeing that Kaito seemed to be leaving, Terumi-Mei couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. The powerful jutsu just now doesn't look like something from a medical professional. And what's your name? Medical ninjas are also ninjas, and they are different from ordinary medical personnel. Besides, shouldn't you tell your own name before asking someone else's name? My name is Terumi-Mei, and I'm the woman who will become the Mizukage in the future. When asked her name, Terumi-Mei seemed to be well prepared and she blurted out this ideal that she had repeated in her mind countless times in one breath. At this time, Kaito had already turned around and walked a few steps. He didn't even look back, but just waved his right hand to say goodbye. My name is Mirukawa Kaito. In the future, I will be a man who can live to old age. Looking at the figure that gradually merged into the mist, Terumi-Mei curled her lips. What? I thought he was a powerful guy, but he turned out to be so unambitious. Chapter 13 I'm a medical ninja. In the next few days, Kaito came to the number 11 training ground as usual as soon as he got off work at the hospital, practicing and completing his daily tasks. Sometimes he also saw Terumi-Mei practicing water-style jutsu. It's strange to say, the reason why not many people come to this training ground is, firstly, because its location is relatively remote, and another reason is that there are no water resources such as lakes or rivers in the training ground. Kaito doesn't know what Mei was thinking, practicing water-style ninjutsu in a place like this. However, after all these days, Kaito had never seen Mei practice her signature bloodline ninjutsu lava-style and boil-style. He doesn't know if it's not developed yet, or if she is hiding it because he is here. Although they often come to the training ground at the same time, there is very little communication between the two. They basically practice separately and only say hello occasionally. It happened that today was Sunday, and Kaito did not go to the hospital for internship, so he came to the training ground in the morning. At this moment, he and Blue were doing strength training, holding up 2 wooden stakes, one large and one small, when they suddenly saw Mei walking towards them from a distance in a somewhat awkward manner. Seeing this, Kaito simply threw away the wooden stake in his hand and signaled Blue to stop and rest. After Mei came over, she spoke hesitantly, completely unlike the arrogant tomboy she was before. Well, I'm currently practicing a water-style defensive ninjutsu. Can you come over and help me test it? Before Kaito could say anything, Mei continued. It just so happens that my teammates and the sensei are busy, and the ninjutsu you released that day seemed quite powerful, so. Mei talked for a long time without saying anything, and Kaito was still waiting for her to finish speaking before agreeing to help her with this small favor. After all, she is the future 5th Mizukage, so it would be a good idea to make friends with her early on. Who would have thought that after seeing that Kaito didn't say anything for a long time, Mei seemed to think that she was rejected, and she actually lowered her head and prepared to turn around and leave. Hey, it's just a small matter, of course it's no problem. You are also helping me test the power of ninjutsu attacks. Seeing that this girl, who usually never asks for help from others, was about to leave, Kaito quickly spoke up and said that it was no problem. Let's go Blue, let's go over and train together today. Kaito waved his hand to signal the little guy to follow. We're not training together. We're just testing out some ninjutsu. Mei seemed dissatisfied with her performance just now. As she spoke, she kicked the innocent grass beside her. A moment later, the 2 people came to the other side of the training ground. Kaito usually likes to train on the west side of the training ground, where there are trees. He can use complex terrain to train his flexibility and movement, and he can also use trees as targets to test the power of his ninjutsu. At this time, the east side where the 2 were was much more open, which was one of the rare flat terrains in the Kirigakure village. However, the puddles of varying sizes on the ground were obviously left by Mei when she was practicing ninjutsu. This is the ninjutsu I just learned recently, water style, water formation wall. But I'm not very proficient in using it yet, so I need someone to help me practice the timing and speed of release and test the defensive strength of the ninjutsu. After saying this, Mei seemed a little embarrassed. However, what Kaito's focus was on was that he didn't expect that what Mei was practicing was actually the water formation wall, a very famous water-style ninjutsu. B-rank ninjutsu. She has already started learning this level of ninjutsu at the same age as me. You know, in the original work, Kakashi was shocked when he saw the newly graduated Uchiha Sasuke use a C-rank, fire-style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Of course, Sasuke was actually much younger when he mastered the Great Fireball Jutsu than Kakashi. That was the reason Kakashi was shocked. However, it was still surprising enough that a 10-year-old genin like Mei could master a B-rank ninjutsu. As for Kaito himself, if the Water Shuriken was to be rated as a ninjutsu, it would probably be ranked B. But in fact, it mainly depends on systematic knowledge inculcation. Only after mastering the basics can one learn and practice. He can only sigh that the geniuses in the ninja world are really unreasonable. No problem. I will test your ninjutsu one by one according to the power of my attacks. How many times can you release the water formation wall jutsu now? Kaito looked at Mei and asked. I can still release it 4 times, so there's no need to test the shuriken and kunai. I still have confidence in this. The girl seemed very proud of this. Seeing this, Kaito ordered Blue to stand still, while he took a few steps sideways to form an angle. Okay, then let's get started. Blue, use water gun. While directing the little frog to use the water gun, Kaito also took out 2 kunai from his ninja tool bag and threw them out in a very unsportsmanlike manner. Mei didn't expect that this guy with a sunny smile would be so insidious and launch a sneak attack right from the start. She immediately made seals with both hands. Water style, water formation wall. A large amount of water formed by chakra was spit out from Mei's mouth, forming a thick arc-shaped water curtain in front of her to block the attacks from 2 directions. Whether it was the kunai or the water gun, they were blocked outside by the water curtain that rose from the ground. Kaito didn't expect that the 4 releases that Mei mentioned referred to this kind of water formation wall that was released without the help of water in the environment. It was a pity that he was conscious enough to make the attack paths of himself and Blue pass through the puddles on the ground. It seems that these genius ninjas, even if they don't have the physique of a Senju or Uzumaki, have chakra levels far exceeding those of ordinary people. Kaito was admiring in his heart while sighing silently. However, unexpectedly, after the water formation wall dissipated, Mei stared at him angrily and said, I can only release it once now. Seeing Mei's expression, Kaito also understood, and immediately held his forehead in silence with a frown on his face. It turned out that I was overthinking it just now. My attack was too sudden, so she didn't have time to use the water in the puddle in front of her to release the ninjutsu. You said it yourself. You need to practice the timing and speed of release. Girl, your name should be Fickle. It was obvious that Mei didn't want to hear anything more from Kaito at this time, and she just urged him angrily. I can only release it once now, so just use your strongest attack. The strongest attack, are you sure? Mei just stood there with a cool look on her face, her chin slightly raised, and she didn't reply. Seeing this, Kaito had no choice but to quickly form seals with his hands. This time, since he was shooting at a fixed target and there was plenty of water around, there was no need to release the aqua jet first. Water style, water shuriken. In an instant, the water shuriken condensed and began to rotate in Kaito's hand. As the water shuriken's rotation speed gradually increased, clear water streams flowed out from several puddles around it, quickly converging and constantly merging into the water shuriken. Seeing that the diameter of the water shuriken was approaching the one released yesterday, Kaito didn't dare to continue to accumulate water. Although the water shuriken created by water style, water shuriken jutsu can be thrown directly, Kaito still habitually rooted his feet on the ground and stretched his body, accumulating strength like a fully drawn longbow. Then he swung his arm forward quickly, and the water shuriken shot out instantly with this smooth movement. The ninjutsu's own flying speed plus the whole body's throwing force combined together, the water shuriken cutting through the air and flew towards Mei at very fast speed. Water style, water formation wall. Because she had been prepared in advance, this time Mei stared at Kaito intently, and after preparing the seal in advance, she slapped the ground with both hands. With the help of the puddle in front and the large amount of clean water produced by the water formation wall just now, she performed ninjutsu, and a water curtain that was several times thicker than before rose again. However, the whistling water shuriken was like a ferocious beast raising its claws. After only a brief pause after contact with the water curtain, a large hole was torn in the water curtain with a harsh friction sound. Immediately afterwards, the water shuriken, with unabated momentum, drew an arc from the left side of Mei's cheek and flew towards a huge rock not far behind her. Bang, sizzle, bong. With a strange cutting sound, the water shuriken left a deep cut on the surface of the boulder and then exploded with a loud bang. Just now, when the water shuriken flew past Mei with a whistling sound that tore through the air, she even felt the breath of death for a moment. After standing there in a daze for a moment, Mei finally came to her senses. With a look of astonishment on her face, she looked quickly between Kaito and the huge rock behind her. Are you really a genin? A medical genin? Kaito was about to say something when he was interrupted by a system prompt. Ding! You have defeated genin for the first time and have unlocked the achievement. How dare you call yourself a genin? Quack. Blue called out softly and looked at Kaito with a strange look. Kaito was in a daze and didn't answer Mei. Look, what did you try to hit me with before? Chapter 14 Three People. After leaving the training ground, Mirukawa Kaito made an appointment with Nakamura Keiko to have lunch near his home at noon. He decided to go back home and pack up before going to the appointment. On the way, he recalled the ninjutsu test with Terumi Mei in the morning. Although he used the water shuriken to penetrate Mei's water formation wall, he did not feel complacent. First of all, that water shuriken almost used up more than half of his chakra. And no one knew how long Mei had been practicing before she came to find him, so much so that her chakra was only enough to release the water formation wall for the last time. Secondly, Mei is still practicing the water formation wall ninjutsu. However, his own water shuriken was instilled in him by the system and he had mastered it. The most important thing is that Mei is now just a genin of the same age as himself. Sigh, my strength still needs to be improved. Just as Kaito walked to the door of the barbecue restaurant and was about to step in, he saw two people walking towards him. He just happened to know one of them, Kaito, or rather, he knew both of them, but he knew one of them from watching anime in his previous life. The two people who came were Momochi Zabuza and Karatachi Yagura. In fact, because today is Sunday and Yagura didn't have any missions, he gave Zabuza some special training nearby in the morning. Coincidentally, the place for lunch is also here. Zabuza recognized Kaito, who was about to enter the door, at a glance. After all, he was an imaginary enemy before, and then inexplicably became a medical ninja. Zabuza had a deep impression of Kaito. However, later on, Zabuza specifically asked Yagura if it was possible that Kaito knew about his plan. After a brief investigation, Yagura said it was probably just a coincidence, and Zabuza never paid any attention to this person again. He didn't expect to meet him here again today. However, given Zabuza's personality, he would not say hello to Kaito or anything like that. His gaze only lingered for a moment on the ninja forehead guard on Kaito's left arm before he passed by and walked out of the store. That young man just now is the Mirukawa Kaito you mentioned before, right? Yagura, who also walked out of the store, asked casually. Obviously he noticed Zabuza's little movements, and combined with his appearance, it was not difficult to guess who this was. Not important, just an insignificant person. Although Zabuza said so, Yagura still kept Kaito in his heart. Kaito knew Zabuza's character, so he naturally didn't take his disregard to heart. He is just a little curious as to why Zabuza is here with Yagura. But it doesn't matter anymore. He has become a genin now, and the graduation exam of the ninja school is destined to be an insignificant matter to him. After walking a few steps into the store, Kaito saw a blue-haired figure waiting there. Aunt Keiko, long time no see. When seeing Kaito greeting her, Nakamura Keiko also raised her head and smiled faintly. Yes, the village has been quite busy lately, and I haven't even congratulated you on becoming a genin yet. Kaito had long been accustomed to this kind of tone of voice that was somewhat like coaxing a child, and he just responded with a subconscious smile. Aunt Keiko is the dean, so she must have a lot of things to do. You haven't been assigned a team to intern in the hospital yet, are you used to it? Asked Nakamura Keiko. It's not bad. It's much easier than the previous medical ninja training. And I've been learning the delicate illness extraction jutsu recently. As an elder, Nakamura Keiko's concern for Kaito came naturally from all aspects. The two of them ate and talked, and it was basically Nakamura Keiko who asked the questions and Kaito who answered. From the previous training on the island to how life has been recently, time passed by gradually with questions and answers. It was not until Kaito saw that they had almost finished eating that he suddenly asked, "Aunt Keiko, is there going to be a war soon?" Upon hearing this, Nakamura Keiko was stunned for a moment and looked at the familiar face of Kaito. Although the Kirigakure village did not participate in the last great ninja war, this child's parents died in the mission because of the war. Now the village has issued a notice that a new war is about to begin. As one of the first batch of medical ninjas piloted by the village, Kaito will inevitably participate in the war. I don't know whether it's right or wrong to make him a medical ninja. Nakamura Keiko thought silently in her heart. Seeing that Nakamura Keiko fell silent, Kaito did not rush to ask further questions. After all, he already knew that the Land of Water would definitely participate in the war this time, and he asked the question only to take the opportunity to understand the current developments of the village. As the director of the Kirigakure Hospital, even though Nakamura Keiko is not a senior member of the village, if the village is ready to intervene in the war, she will definitely make arrangements for medical personnel. Kaito's guess was not wrong. Nakamura Keiko had recently received a notice from the village and was busy with preparations for the war. She did not hide anything about this, but for the first time she treated Kaito as an adult and spoke directly to him. Yes, the war will come soon, and the village is already communicating with the daimyo-sama. After a brief pause, Nakamura Keiko continued. The Land of Fire and the Land of Wind have already gone to war, and the Land of Earth has also issued a statement to the Land of Fire. Currently, only we in the Land of Lightning are still waiting and watching. However, the voices in the village for joining the war are basically one-sided. Kaito had anticipated this and simply responded to Nakamura Keiko. "Thank you, Aunt Keiko, I will make some preparations. Kaito, I want you to remember that you are not only a ninja, but also a very talented doctor. No matter what happens, you must keep yourself safe." Nakamura Keiko stared into Kaito's eyes and said with a serious expression. As an ordinary person, she could not interfere with the village's mission arrangements for the ninjas, and could only remind Kaito to be careful in this way. "I know, Aunt Keiko. I'm most afraid of death." Kaito answered with a smile on his face but a firm tone. "I am a man who will live to the end." So the two of them returned to the hospital together after dinner. On the other side, Mei, who had been training with Kaito in the morning, was also discussing the upcoming war with others. "Ao-sensei, if the village joins the war, will you still lead our team?" The flat-faced girl looked at her Jonin sensei with a worried look on her face. It should be possible. Even if a war really breaks out, the village will not easily break up a team that cooperates well. Ao didn't take Terumi Mei's worries too seriously. As a relatively young Jonin in the village, Ao is not an important fighting force that requires special mobilization at this moment. In this case, they usually accept war missions in the form of small teams. But those two idiots, Goda and Kugawa, were badly injured again. If the village sends us a mission. Seeing that his most valued disciple was still worried, Ao had no choice but to change the subject. "You just said that the genin who trained with you this morning used a ninjutsu that you had never seen before to break through your water formation wall jutsu." When talking about this matter, Mei's attention was immediately diverted and she said with an indignant look on her face. "Last time when those two idiots, Goda and Kugawa, were injured, we saw that guy when we went to the hospital. He said he was a medical ninja. I didn't see any medical ninjutsu, but his water jutsu attack was terrifyingly powerful." Ao also remembered the black-haired boy at this moment. After all, Kaito's handsome face was still very memorable. But he didn't expect that he was also the medical ninja that the village had recently started to promote. Ao was also aroused with a hint of curiosity, and then asked, "What's his name?" "His name is Mirukawa Kaito." "It doesn't." Chapter 15 Hoshigaki Kisame. My name is Hoshigaki Kisame, I'm 12 years old, and I'm a new chunin of the Kirigakure village. A few days ago, I was on a mission with my Jonin sensei and two teammates to escort merchants from the Land of Fire back to their country. Unexpectedly, this businessman actually concealed the fact that he was competing with his own brother for the position of head of the family. Not long after we set foot in the Land of Fire, we encountered the ninjas that the merchant's brother hired to kill him. I just don't know what kind of promise his younger brother made, and the person he invited was Pakura, that scorched style of Sunagakure village. Obviously, there is a huge gap in strength between the sensei, who is also a Jonin, and Pakura, who has already made a name for herself. The Land of Fire merchant died on the spot because of his stinginess. And Pakura, who was using scorch style, seemed to have other tasks and did not want to reveal her whereabouts. After killing the target of the mission, she also wanted to silence our team. Without much words, endless orange fireballs came one after another, and my sensei's water-style ninjutsu could hardly do anything to effectively block them. Fortunately, Pakura's perception ability seems to be relatively poor, and her main focus was the sensei, who is a senior ninja. Even so, I was finally hit by a fireball and I managed to escape with the help of the hidden mist jutsu. In the end, with the help of the Hoshigaki clan's talent, I replenished a large amount of water and was able to escape back to the village alone with my seriously injured body. After reporting the information about Pakura's scorch style, I was immediately sent to the Kirigakure hospital for treatment. But, who can tell me? Why is my primary doctor a 9-year-old kid? 5 minutes ago. Mirukawa Kaito is observing and learning in operating room number 3. A fruit stall owner was resting in his shop when he was hit on the head by a tile accidentally kicked off by a ninja running across his roof. He is currently undergoing surgery to stitch his wound. Kaito, who has been interning at the Kirigakure hospital recently, has already mastered several medical ninjutsu and has a solid foundation in basic medical knowledge. In addition, although he is a ninja, he is not arrogant and is kind to others, so he is very popular in the hospital. There are often some ordinary doctors who do not have chakra mastery, and they ask him to come as an assistant when they are performing surgery to treat the wounded, and use medical ninjutsu to solve some more troublesome problems. Kaito can also use this opportunity to accumulate medical experience, which is a win-win situation. Just when Kaito was still marveling at this unlucky boss, a nurse rushed in, saw Kaito just watching from the side, and immediately spoke. Dr. Mirukawa, a ninja, has been sent to the hospital with severe burns and dehydration. The director is in another operation. I want you to go and stabilize the patient first. Upon hearing this, Kaito stood up immediately. He thought that Aunt Keiko must have believed that the water-style, aqua ring jutsu had a strong therapeutic effect on external injuries and burns, but there were too few people in the hospital who were proficient in this ninjutsu, so she let him go first when she was busy. Just like that, Kaito, wearing a custom-made mini white coat, hurried into the ward and was seen by Kisame, who just learned that his attending physician would be here soon. Kaito naturally had no idea about Kisame's complicated psychological activities at this time, and even if he knew, he would not care. In the past, some patients would even directly question his identity, but most civilians would immediately shut up after knowing that he was a ninja. After entering the ward, Kaito was slightly surprised after taking the form recording the patient's condition. Kisame Hoshigaki was injured by Pakura's scorch style. Wow, they are all celebrities. Although the Hoshigaki clan is a small ninja clan with very few members, their physique is special and their body structure is slightly different from that of ordinary people. Moreover, Pakura's scorch attack method and the damage caused are very special, so this information will be recorded in advance to facilitate doctors to understand the condition of the injured. Kaito didn't waste any time. After briefly checking Hoshigaki Kisame's injuries, he asked the nurse to bring a bucket of water and began to form seals with his hands to perform ninjutsu. Water style, aqua ring. 2 streams of water flew out of the bucket in an instant, floating on Kaito's left and right palms to form aqua rings. In fact, Pakura's scorch style mainly causes burns on the outside of the body, dehydration, and respiratory system damage is due to the inhalation of high-temperature air. However, since Kisame did not die on the spot and has survived until now, it should not be too difficult to treat him. However, lung treatment requires more precise and detailed chakra control. Kaito placed his left hand just above Kisame's body to treat the external burns. His right hand was placed above Kisame's mouth and nose, ready to guide the water into his body. Don't worry, this is a healing jutsu. Open your mouth. Kisame was lying on the bed at this moment and was staring at Kaito with his little eyes. Although this doctor looks young, he performs ninjutsu very skillfully. And for some reason, when Kisame saw him forming hand seals and performing water style, he felt inexplicably familiar with him. So he opened his mouth obediently. However, when he saw Kisame open his mouth, Kaito was a little hesitant. After thinking about it carefully, he divided the water in his hand into several more streams, which flowed to the gills on both sides of Kisame's cheeks and left and right shoulders. Treatment of respiratory burns. Fish gills are also considered respiratory tract, right? Kaito was distracted while treating the patient and almost choked Kisame, the sharkman who could breathe underwater. He quickly focused his attention on the treatment. Kisame immediately felt a hint of coolness from the water and the unique warm healing power of the yang attribute chakra flowing through his burns at the same time, quickly relieving the pain caused by the scorch style. During this period, when Nakamura Keiko arrived, she found that Kaito had already started the treatment, so she did not interrupt him. She just pointed out some precautions with some relief, then asked the nurse to get some targeted burn medicines, and instructed her to help Kisame apply medicine and bandage after Kaito's treatment was completed, and then left the ward directly. Half an hour later. Okay, after the initial treatment, the injury has stabilized. All that remains is to change the bandage on time and observe in the hospital. Kaito wiped the sweat from his head and said to Kisame, "This is how healing ninjutsu works. Although it consumes a lot of physical strength and chakra, it consumes more mental energy because of the need for meticulous control." Kaito looked at the external ointment prescribed by Nakamura Keiko, wrote down his own medical instructions, and prepared to leave. "Doctor, what is your name?" Kisame forced a smile and asked, but his sharp teeth were exposed when he opened his mouth, which scared the nurse who was preparing to apply medicine next to him so much that she took a step back. However, Kaito knew the true character of Hoshigaki Kisame. Moreover, in the original work, Kisame is an honest character that he likes, so he can ignore his hideous appearance. "My name is Mirukawa Kaito, and I'm a medical ninja." Kaito gave Kisame a thumbs up and gave him a faint smile. In the next few days, Kaito often came to Hoshigaki Kisame's ward when he was in the hospital to inquire about his recovery. After all, he is Kisame's actual attending physician. Later, Kisame learned that the aqua ring was actually a ninjutsu created by Mirukawa Kaito. During the period of recuperation, Kisame, who had nothing to do, began to frequently discuss some water-style ninjutsu and hand-seal techniques with Kaito. Kaito also gained a lot in this regard. After a while, the two of them became friends who could talk to each other. In this way, Kaito practiced in the hospital and exchanged ninjutsu with Kisame during the day, and practiced with Terumi Mei in the training ground at night. His level in all aspects was improving rapidly. Chapter 16: A Night Destined to be Restless. Today is the last day of the limited-time survival pool event. After a month of hard work and accumulation, Mirukawa Kaito's gold coins increased from 1,520 to 3,875. This is not just the gold coins obtained from daily tasks. During this month, in order to accumulate more gold coins to draw the limited-time prize pool, Kaito was teasing cats and dogs, bullying children, and rescuing poor neighbors. He was doing whatever it takes and used all his rest time to trigger system achievements. He even went to the village mission hall to take on ninja missions to try and see if he could trigger a new way to earn gold coins. Unfortunately, the number of regular missions in the village has been greatly reduced recently, and most of the genin missions need to be taken up by a team. Without a team, Kaito couldn't stay in the mission hall for 24 hours waiting for the right mission, so in the end he had to give up with regret. When the event ends tomorrow, the prize pool will disappear. Although he hasn't saved enough for the third 10 draw, he still has to start the draw. Having drawn lots of prizes many times, Kaito is quite familiar with it. After washing his hands, face, and praying to the gods, he opened the system panel. Although the water attribute pool had accumulated a guaranteed 30 draws, Kaito did not hesitate any longer and directly chose the survival pool. Let's do 20 consecutive draws first. 2 balls of light in the system panel spun and shook at high speed, then exploded. Dazzling streams of light flew out in all directions. Sigh, there is no golden prize. Although he said that with his luck, there was no guarantee that the gold prize would come out, he still had some expectations. Unfortunately, reality always fulfills your wishes when you least expect it. Epsilon sad face Omicron asterisk, quack. Although the little frog didn't understand why Kaito sighed, he also echoed him. When Kaito shook his head, perked up and focused his eyes on the reward panel, a hint of joy still appeared on his face. Prize. Ability, Anticipation, Purple Item, passive effect without consumption, enables the owner of this trait to sense the surrounding dangers in advance. TM, Safeguard, purple item, attributeless secret jutsu. After forming a seal and releasing the secret jutsu, you will be granted an effect that allows you to be immune to most abnormal states. This effect continuously consumes mental energy. Focus Sash, purple item, even if you are hit by a fatal attack, you will not die after carrying it. You will only fall into a coma due to serious injuries. The item will enter a cooldown period of 1 year after taking effect once. Hyper Potion, blue item, can be taken orally or used externally, greatly recovers the user's injuries. Super Potion, *3, blue item, can be taken orally or used externally, moderately restores the user's injuries. White items *13. It really is worthy of being an event prize pool. The 3 purple prizes all look pretty good. First of all, Anticipation is a god rank passive skill that is no less than a golden item. It is often the protagonist's life-saving weapon in various stories. For Kaito, who may have to go to the battlefield in the future, it is a very practical ability. Kaito integrated the Anticipation ability light ball into his body without saying a word, and he will later find an opportunity to test the actual effect of this passive ability. Since the Safeguard was an esoteric scroll, Kaito immediately had a general understanding of this esoteric art after the knowledge was instilled. It's a little different from what he imagined at first. The immunity to most abnormal conditions mentioned in the skill description is not as invincible as it seems. This secret jutsu is mainly used to target abnormal conditions caused by control-type ninjutsu, such as various illusions and the Yamanaka clan's mind transfer jutsu. He can be immune to control effects during the duration of the secret jutsu. It's not like in the Pokémon games, where you can be immune to any abnormal condition such as burns, frostbite, and poisoning. Moreover, as an active skill, it needs to be released in advance, which greatly reduces the value of this ninjutsu. It can only be said that it is very useful in specific scenarios. Finally, about Focus Sash. It looks like it has a strong effect, and it is actually very strong, but the conditions for use are a bit too harsh. It's not that the effect of saving life once a year is too little, but after this thing saves his life, it will cause him to fall into a coma with serious injuries. If he was seriously injured and fell unconscious on the battlefield, it would probably not be much different from dying directly. All he can say is that his life was saved, but not completely. Having said that, Kaito still tied the Focus Sash to his arm immediately and sincerely. After all, being alive is better than dying directly. Kaito even planned to install his own Kirigakure village emblem on it, and weld it to his left arm and never take it off again. Although the last 2 prizes were not as perfect as he had imagined, Kaito felt that the Anticipation alone was worth the money. As usual, he put away the blue and white items, then picked out the ones he could use and put them in his ninja tool bag to carry with him. Kaito started to feel a little confused. He currently has 675 gold coins left, and he can make 4 single draws. He is a little confused about whether to use them directly in the prize pool of this event. And although 3 purple items have been drawn today, the only TM is still a scroll without attributes. He didn't draw any other attribute ninjutsu, and when he opened a new permanent prize pool, he always felt like something was missing. Blue, do you think I should continue the lottery? Kaito, who was a little undecided, began to ask Blue for help pitifully. Quack. Blue looked at his master who was asking him the question and shook his head in confusion. Although Blue's shaking head did not mean he didn't want it, it gave Kaito a way out and made him give up the idea of taking a gamble. After all, 4 draws require 11 days of daily tasks. If used in this event prize pool that will end tomorrow, there will be neither a guaranteed 10-draw purple nor a cumulative number of guaranteed gold items. If he draws 4 white prizes such as daily necessities, his good mood of getting 3 life-saving items today will probably disappear completely. Let's just stay in the water attribute pool and draw from it. Let's get myself a golden reward of water attribute first, maybe it will bring about a qualitative improvement in my combat power. Letting go of the little obsession in his heart, Kaito could finally fall asleep peacefully in a good mood after drawing the reward. It's just that some people are destined not to sleep tonight. On a small island near the Kirigakure village. It just happened to be the island where Kaito and other medical ninjas were undergoing closed training. The few temporary buildings left over from that time are still in the center of the island. Although there were obviously many people moving around on the island at the moment, no one planned to spend the night in the building. From noon today until now, more than 100 ninja school students on this small island have been fighting each other for their graduation examinations. If anyone wants to rest in such a conspicuous building in the center of the island, he will definitely become the target of public criticism. It's somewhat ironic that 3 months ago, a group of doctors and ninjas who had never met each other helped and guided each other in their studies in order to become medical ninjas. At this moment, a group of teenagers who are only about 10 years old have to kill at least one classmate they have known for several years and seize the token in the other party's hand in order to pass the assessment and become a genin. According to the original plan of the ninja school, all students would receive a token and board the island, and then the ship would leave. When the ship arrives again at noon the next day, students with 2 tokens can board the ship and leave, officially becoming a genin in the Blood Mist village. However, at this moment on the island, there is a student who seems to disagree with the ninja school's plan. Momochi Zabuza looked and saw that the night was getting darker and darker, approaching complete darkness. He clenched the kunai in his hand and prepared to take action. Chapter 17 Weapon and Tool. Since arriving on the island at noon, Momochi Zabuza has been wandering around, observing the terrain of the entire island. Although it is just a small island, it can serve as the assessment site for more than 100 ninja school students. Its actual area is more than 500,000 square meters, and it is full of trees, mountains, and rocks. Even with Zabuza's strength, it would be difficult to wipe out so many students scattered on the island. So even though Karatachi Yagura had already given him the map of the island in advance, Zabuza still went to confirm a few unclear places on the first day of arriving on the island. In order to prevent being attacked by all the students, Zabuza did not choose to take action during the day, but simply dealt with 2 unlucky guys he met on the way. With Zabuza's strength and fame in the ninja school, the 2 ordinary students were ready to hand over their tokens to save their lives the moment they saw Zabuza. This is also allowed in the ninja school. After all, the purpose of the assessment is to eliminate the weak. When you encounter an opponent you cannot defeat, you have to hand over your token, and then eliminate 2 people who are weaker than you. This is the normal situation in an exam. But for Zabuza, everyone in this test is his prey. Zabuza, who has already taken action, only has the enemy in his eyes. Puff. 11. With a slight sound and blood splashing, Zabuza slowly pulled out the kunai from the back of a girl's neck. 23. Zabuza's gaze swept across the 2 corpses at his feet without stopping for a moment. He simply walked silently towards the other's ninja bag, simply replenished the supplies, and then turned around to continue his hunt. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 shurikens suddenly shot out from the dense forest. Zabuza alertly dodged sideways and at the same time stretched out his fingers and accurately inserted them into the hole in the middle of the flying shurikens. With a sudden swing of his arm, the shuriken shot back at a faster speed and hit the target in the dense forest. 30. After completing this series of actions, Zabuza subconsciously counted in his mouth. 56, 57, 58. As the sky gradually brightened, Zabuza's expression changed from bloodthirsty at first, to calmness later, and then to confusion, until finally his eyes gradually became dead silent. Although his expression returned to calm, the murderous aura on his body became more intense, and mottled bloodstains extended from the collar all the way to the trouser legs. Just like that, before he knew it, Zabuza had arrived at the gathering point at the island port. Although the sun had already risen, the fog on the island was getting thicker. A dozen students were gathering here in 2s and 3s. Apparently, these were students who had obtained 2 tokens and were waiting for the ship to pick them up. There were several corpses lying randomly on the ground, still bleeding. He doesn't know whether they died here because someone tried to snatch the token, or they were fools who were killed because they thought they were strong enough to snatch the token at the finish line. Seeing Zabuza slowly walking out of the thick fog, a student in Zabuza's class walked up to him and greeted him with a somewhat gloating look. "Hey, Zabuza, with your strength, why did you come so late? Don't go over there." One of his companions next to him seemed to notice that something was wrong with Zabuza's condition. But the words were not finished. Puff. Hot blood spurted out from the boy's neck. The student's wide eyes were filled with shock and unwillingness, even though he had clearly passed the test. He tried in vain to grab the kunai stuck in his throat with both hands, and then slowly fell down. Zabuza. You. Originally, only the dead student's companions wanted to scold Zabuza, while everyone else was just watching coldly. Everyone just thought that Zabuza didn't get the token for some reason and came to the finish line to snatch it. However, Zabuza ignored the man's words, stood still and began to form seals with his hands rapidly. What is he doing? Hey! The dead guy has 2 tokens on him. No. Stop him. The students who can come here at this time are all of the upper middle level of this class. Some of those who reacted quickly realized that something was wrong and quickly rushed towards Zabuza. Whoosh! 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 Seeing Senbon, kunai, shuriken, and all kinds of attacks coming towards him, Zabuza had no choice but to interrupt the water dragon jutsu seals that he was forming with his hands, and he took out 2 kunai again, holding one in the left and one in the right hand, and rushed directly into the crowd and started killing. Are you crazy? Stop talking nonsense and kill him. However, no matter how these guys cursed, they were being ruthlessly killed one by one as time passed. At this moment, the evil aura emanating from Zabuza was so strong that it was almost tangible, as if it was real. When the last surviving student looked at the boy who was a few inches shorter than him, perhaps it was fear that distorted his vision. He seemed to see a demon behind the boy condensed into a several-meter-tall demon head, which was hideous and terrifying. At this moment, Zabuza was surrounded by a strong smell of blood, and the purple-red demon heads were twisting and circling behind him, gradually enveloping him. The head was like a hungry beast, emitting a suffocating aura of fear. Finally, the student's eyes became empty, the kunai in his hand slipped, and he fell to the ground powerlessly, welcoming his own death and the birth of a demon. The scorching sun at noon finally dispelled the thick fog on the island, and a large ship arrived at the island on time. However, as the ship slowly approached the shore, everyone on board witnessed a scene that was completely different from previous years. A boy with no eyebrows and covered in blood was sitting alone at the harbor, hugging his knees tightly with his hands. At this moment, there were more than 20 corpses lying around him, both male and female. All of them were students of the ninja school. Blood, kunai, and shurikens were scattered all over the ground, and even the sea water near the port was dyed a shocking red. The young man sat in the midst of chaos and death, his eyes were dull, as if he was isolated from the world. He stared blankly at the approaching ship, his face was expressionless, as if he had lost all reaction to everything around him. Quick, go down and see what happened. A man dressed as a chunin was eager to rush to the shore. However, a green-haired figure got there first and blocked his way. Karatachi Yagura, the person who was supposed to be hiding behind the scenes, now appeared on the boat. It is not known whether his appearance was to ensure the smooth progress of the plan, or to protect Zabuza who had completed the mission, or perhaps both. Everyone, stay on board. As Yagura finished his words, several figures quickly rushed out of the cabin and blocked the bow. At the same time, 4 chunins walked out of the island. It was the invigilator who seemed to have not existed all day who joined the interception team. Then, Yagura jumped onto the shore alone. With complicated eyes, he slowly walked towards Zabuza who was curled up there. Little demon, you are just a weapon and a tool to carry out orders. All the killings and sins are borne by me who issued the orders. Yagura leaned over, gently ruffled Zabuza's hair with his hands, and continued. So now, your mission is accomplished. Congratulations on your graduation, kid. Weapon and tool. The young man had a dull look in his eyes from beginning to end, but only at this moment did a faint light seem to appear in his eyes. Chapter 18, Follow-up to the Graduation Exam. At 3 p.m. that day, a high-ranking meeting of the Kirigakure village was held. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss the appropriate time to intervene in the war and how to deal with the sudden change in the daimyo of the Land of Water's ambiguous attitude towards participating in the war. Unexpectedly, everyone learned the news of the accident in the ninja graduation exam first. The atmosphere in the conference room was a little heavy at this moment. The third Mizukage sat behind his desk with an expressionless face, and standing obediently beside him was Karatachi Yagura with a frown on his face. When something like this happened in the ninja school, naturally someone informed the third Mizukage of the news immediately. Then Elder Genji spoke up and briefly told what had happened. The patriarch of the Yuki clan, Yukihiro, had a gloomy expression on his face. He immediately stood up and expressed his intention to severely punish Momochi Zabuza. The village's combat power has been reduced at this critical moment. I think Momochi Zabuza is very likely a spy from another village and should be interrogated immediately. Yukihiro said coldly. As the representative of the ninja clan, the Kirigakure village is about to join the war. The decrease in the number of lower-rank civilian ninjas means that the ninja clan may need to send more clan members to the battlefield, which obviously greatly damages the interests of the ninja clan. And since Zabuza was able to kill all the candidates alone at this age, he must be a very talented young man. It would be better for such a genius who came from a civilian ninja to die. Just as Yugura was about to speak up to defend Zabuza, a rough laugh suddenly rang out. Haha, Yukihiro, that's nothing. We are the Blood Mist Ninja, the weak ones should be eliminated. I think this kid is pretty good. Although Kagaya Tatsuya said that Zabuza was a good ninja, judging from his impatient look, it was obvious that he didn't care about this matter. The existence of the ninja school is to train ninjas for the village. People who disrupt the exam must be severely punished. Seeing that Kagaya Tatsuya, this idiot, actually refuted him at this time, the Yuki clan leader Yukihiro felt his veins popping out instantly. He simply ignored Kagaya Tatsuya and looked directly at the calm third Mizukage. Seeing that the time seemed to be right, Yugura, who was standing next to the third Mizukage, immediately spoke. Although Momochi Zabuza's behavior was extreme, the content of the exam was to kill other candidates, so he did not violate the exam rules. Having said this, Yugura glanced at the third Mizukage, and seeing that he did not speak, he simply continued speaking. I think the important thing is not to deal with him, but to consider whether to change the rules of the ninja school's graduation exam. Upon hearing this, the third Mizukage looked at Yugura with a smile and said, Jonin Yugura, are you questioning the rules I set? For some reason, even though this was not the first time he had made this suggestion, Yugura felt himself breaking out in a cold sweat. That's not the case, Mizukage-sama. It's just that the war is about to begin, and I think that the battlefield should be more helpful in training future students rather than letting them die at the hands of their companions. Having said that, Yugura's gaze gradually became firm, and he raised his head and looked directly into the eyes of the third Mizukage. And if the rules aren't changed, something like this could happen again in the future. At this moment, the eyes of the third Mizukage, whose slightly old face, suddenly became sharp. Really? Will it happen again? The Kirigakure high-ranking officials present at the scene also vaguely realized that the matter seemed complicated, so they all kept silent. Just when Yugura was beginning to be unable to withstand the pressure brought by the third Mizukage. The third Mizukage didn't wait for Yugura to say anything. He slowly stood up, glanced at everyone, and spoke calmly. The invigilator of this exam was seriously derelict in his duty and will be immediately transferred to the intelligence department and sent to the land of fire to gather intelligence. Suikezen Fuguki, you will be in charge of the arrangements. Yes. After hearing this, Suikezen Fuguki immediately stood up and responded. There is a loophole in the ninja school graduation exam rules, so they will be temporarily suspended. Saito, you will arrange for a new exam plan, which will then be submitted to the elder Genji for review. The third Mizukage mentioned Honda Saito, who is the current vice principal of the ninja school. However, because the third Mizukage is only the principal in name only, the affairs of the ninja school are basically handled by him. Yes. Honda Saito, who had not been on a mission for many years and gradually became a civilian staff, was very frightened when he heard that he was asked to handle such a difficult matter. However, he did not dare to question the Mizukage's order and could only agree tremblingly and then retreat. Finally, as for that brat called Momochi Zabuza, the third Mizukage glanced at the somewhat nervous Yugura and continued, Elder Genji, I remember that the Jonin AO came to report this morning that he wanted to add 2 more members from this batch of students, right? It is true that 2 members of AO's team were seriously injured during the mission and can no longer continue to serve as ninjas. The elder Genji nodded slowly and answered the question of the third Mizukage. Then let Zabuza go to AO's team, and there is only 1 member left. The third Mizukage looked at the current leader of the Hozuki clan, Hozuki Sangetsu, who had been silent. I heard that the Hozuki clan has a young genius. At this moment, countless horses were galloping through Hozuki Sangetsu's heart. Ever since the former patriarch of the Hozuki clan, the second Mizukage Hozuki Gungetsu, died in battle and the third Mizukage took over, the status of the Hozuki clan has been deteriorating. Now even their control over the 7 ninja swords is in name only, and so he became extremely cautious and never speaks in high-ranking meetings. He never thought that it would happen to him now. His own clan genius, Hozuki Mangetsu, is only 7 years old now. Although he believed that he was definitely as strong as any genin, how could he be assigned to such a strange team? Lord Mizukage, it must be a rumor. There hasn't been any talented young men in the clan for a long time. Hozuki Sangetsu answered cautiously while thinking in his heart. Not many people know about Mangetsu's training. I will go back and find out who spread the news. He didn't want the clan's genius to be exposed to outsiders at such a young age. Really? The third Mizukage seemed to just say it casually and didn't ask any further questions. Mizukichi-sama, the AO report mentioned that there is a graduate this year who became a genin because he participated in the medical ninja selection before the graduation exam. The elder Genji seemed to have some kind of inexplicable tacit understanding with the third Mizukage, and only mentioned another candidate at this time. It seems to be a boy named Mirukawa Kaito. AO hopes that if this boy has no other plans, he can join his team. He's a lucky kid, so let's go with him. The third Mizukage didn't want to talk any more about the topic of a few genins, so he decided on him. The whole time, Yagura seemed to be hesitant to speak, but in the end, he said nothing. Although the 4 chunins who supervised the exam were his subordinates, they were eventually transferred to the front line. Although the talented boy Momochi Zabuza did not stay under his command in the end. But his goal has been achieved in a way that he cannot understand. Yagura looked at the old face of the third Mizukage with complicated eyes. Okay, let's continue talking about when the Kirigakure village will intervene in the war. The third Mizukage brought the topic back to the original content of the meeting, as if what had just happened had never happened. At this moment, Mirukawa Kaito, who was still in the Kirigakure hospital and chatting and bragging with Hoshigaki Kisame, had no idea that the appointment of his team was determined in the confrontation and testing between several important people. Chapter 19 Team Assembles. Mirukawa Kaito got up early and looked at the calendar. He suddenly discovered that the day before yesterday was the day of the ninja school graduation exam. But recently, his life has been very regular, so he didn't pay much attention to the date. And it has been more than 3 months since he left the ninja school, so he didn't pay much attention to the graduation exam. This date was marked when Kaito had just transmigrated here. At that time, he was really counting the days to live. It felt like a countdown to the college entrance examination. Thinking of this, Kaito couldn't help but smile. But now that the graduation exams are over, Zabuza should have officially debuted, right? All kinds of messy thoughts were surging in his mind. While eating breakfast, Kaito was thinking about whether he should go to the ninja registration office to inquire about the arrangements for his team. Blue, do you think I will be assigned to form a team with Zabuza, or will there be a clan ninja who happens to become a genin to form a team? Oh. The little frog that was still sleepy didn't hear clearly what his master said and responded subconsciously. However, Kaito was just chatting about a random topic during the meal and didn't really expect any response. After dinner, Kaito, who had just arrived at the hospital to work, was called to the office by Nakamura Keiko. Kaito, the village has already made arrangements for you. I heard that a Jonin will lead the team. As soon as Kaito entered the door, he heard good news. Normally, there are too many genin graduating each year, and ordinary teams are led by chunin. It seems that he has to thank Zabuza. However, looking at Nakamura Keiko's expression, it didn't look like she was telling good news. Instead, she looked worried. When Kaito saw this, he immediately had some guesses in his mind. Sure enough, Nakamura Keiko briefly explained what happened in yesterday's graduation exam. That Momochi Zabuza will be in the same team with you, so you should pay more attention to yourself. Don't worry, Aunt Keiko. Kaito gave Nakamura Keiko a reassuring look. I believe you. Get ready in the morning and report to training ground number 9 in the afternoon. In the morning, he went to say goodbye to Hoshigaki Kisame, who was still in the hospital. At noon, he had lunch with Nakamura Keiko. Then, Kaito came to the number 9 training ground with some nervousness. Unlike the number 11 training ground that he often went to before, the number 9 training ground is not big, but its facilities are more complete, with lakes, woods, rockery and everything else. As soon as Kaito entered the training ground, he found that 3 people, 1 adult and 2 children, had been waiting for him in the training ground for who knows how long. What's even more interesting is that all three of them are acquaintances. Sorry, sensei, I'm late. Kaito expressed his apologies to AO, who had not transplanted Byakugan yet and has both eyes intact. Terumi Mei, who was standing by, was not at all reserved when she saw Kaito coming. Instead, she made a face at him and motioned him to look to the left. Zabuza on the left also had no expression. Or rather, no expression can be seen because the lower half of his face is wrapped in bandages, and now all that can be seen is the indifference in his eyes. At this moment, Momochi Zabuza is already looking very close to his future self. The forehead guard was tilted on the side, with the bandage hanging down from the right side. White bandages were wrapped around his neck and the lower half of his face. He was wearing the same sleeveless shirt as he would wear in the future, but the one on his back was not an executioner's blade, but an ordinary short sword, which was just right for Zabuza's current height. When Ao heard Kaito's greeting, he did not show any displeasure, but spoke gently. You're not late. Terumi Mei and I took Momochi Zabuza to register as ninjas this morning, so we came together. Okay, now that everyone is here and we're going to be carrying out missions together, let's introduce ourselves first. Ao clapped his hands, signaling the three to pay attention. Seeing that the three people were looking at him, Ao simply took the lead in introducing himself. My name is Ao, and I will be your Jonin sensei from now on. I am good at water-style ninjutsu, wind-style ninjutsu, and perception ninjutsu, and I don't like people who don't follow the rules. Perception equals sensory. After saying that, Ao looked at the three people who all looked indifferent and no one seemed to want to speak first. He already had a premonition that this team would be a bit difficult to lead in the future. At this time, the still young Ao couldn't stand the awkward silence and had to frequently wink at Mei. However, Mei's attention was completely focused on Mirukawa Kaito and Momochi Zabuza at this time, and she didn't notice her sensei's embarrassment at all. Seeing that Ao was about to roll his eyes in advance, Kaito, who had wanted to wait for Ao's old subordinate Terumi Mei to speak first, still spoke decisively to end the awkward atmosphere. My name is Mirukawa Kaito. I am good at water-style ninjutsu and medical ninjutsu. I like the feeling of increasing my strength and hate all dangers. My dream is to live happily until I die. What? This kind of dream is unacceptable no matter how many times I hear it. Mei, who was standing by, had obviously not said anything to Ao, who was in a state of awkward silence before, but now she couldn't help but complain. After complaining about Kaito, as if to prove what she just said, she also began to introduce herself. My name is Terumi Mei. I'm a year older than you two, and I'm a senior who has been a genin for a year. Having said this, Mei paused briefly. But seeing that neither Kaito nor Zabuza reacted, she had no choice but to continue talking. I am good at water-style ninjutsu and earth-style ninjutsu. I don't want to tell you what I like, but my dream is to become a Mizukage. Looking at Mei, who was looking up at him with her little neck tilted back, Kaito cooperated by giving her a thumbs up. Finally, facing the gazes of the other three people, Zabuza finally couldn't hold it anymore and spoke. Momochi Zabuza, I am good at taijutsu, kenjutsu, and water-style ninjutsu. However, what Zabuza said seemed a bit forced. He didn't know whether he was good at water-style ninjutsu since he could use water-style, water dragon jutsu, a B-rank ninjutsu. Wow, a team of 4 is made up of all water-style ninjas. Is it true that except for the protagonist Kanagakur village, all other villages are of a single attribute? Kaito complained silently in his heart. But Terumi Mei said she is good at water-style ninjutsu and earth-style ninjutsu. Has she not yet developed her own bloodline limit? In the future, she will become a double bloodline limit owner, which can only be said to be worthy of being a genius. On the other side, seeing that Zabuza only said this little bit and then fell silent, Ao had no choice but to ask, what about the dream? Dream? Change this village. Zabuza looked a little confused when he said this. Several people present noticed this, but no one said anything more on the topic. Ao thought for a moment and said, although everyone has already introduced themselves verbally, the main purpose of gathering at the training ground today is to allow everyone to get to know their future teammates better through actual combat. Mei, you, Zabuza, and Kaito will be the attackers and I will be the defender. I will give you 3 minutes to come up with a strategy. Before the 3 kids could ask any more questions, Ao moved instantly and rushed into the woods in the training ground without looking back. Looking at Ao's agile back, the three people who had not yet fully reacted looked at each other with frowns on their faces. Kaito looked at Mei speechlessly and asked, "Ao-sensei, has he always led the team in this efficient style?" Although Zabuza's face under the bandage was still expressionless, he looked at Mei with a hint of doubt in his eyes. Mei raised her hand to her forehead, feeling a little embarrassed, but she still changed the subject. "Just follow orders and make a plan first. Although Ao-sensei has played very little role in the missions over the past year, I still have some intelligence to share." Chapter 20 Combat Test. Ao was standing casually under the shade of the tree at this moment, without making any preparations or defensive postures. After all, as a Jonin, if he needs to be highly alert when dealing with three genin, it will really show that Jonin's ability is not that good. Just as Ao was bored and thinking about how the three kids would attack, thick mist quietly enveloped the small forest. "Heh, the hidden mist jutsu will obscure your perception first. That's a good idea." However, Ao still did not make any movement, but instead raised the corners of his mouth slightly. These little kids seemed to look down on people. As a Jonin of the Kirigakure village, how could Ao not be familiar with fighting in the mist? As the mist completely enveloped the area, suddenly, dozens of thousand senbon flew out silently from both sides of Ao. Senbon is different from kunai and shuriken. It is smaller in size, so it does not make much noise when attacking. It is also a silent attack method commonly used in conjunction with the hidden mist jutsu, but its lethality is much smaller than that of kunai and shuriken. Ao casually took out a kunai and put his index finger into the ring on the handle of the kunai. With the smooth up and down movement of the kunai, he knocked down all the incoming senbon in just a few moves without even moving his feet. But right after senbon, two figures immediately rushed out of the dense forest. It was Terumi Mei and Mirukawa Kaito who were holding kunai and attacked Ao, who was standing still, from the left and right sides respectively. After so many days of training together, the two of them now seemed to have a very good understanding of each other. When she got close to Ao, Mei jumped up lightly and stabbed Ao in the face with her kunai. Kaito kept leaning forward and moving close to the ground, intending to attack Ao's ankle. However, even if Ao was not a Jonin specialized in taijutsu, such an attack would not pose any threat to him. Ao kicked Kaito's chin with his left foot as fast as lightning. With his right hand, he grabbed the wrist of Mei, who was holding the kunai. He pressed his right foot on the ground, tightened his waist, and threw Mei backhandedly towards Kaito, who was kicked into the air. But when Mei hit Kaito heavily, with a bang, the two of them exploded into splashes of water at the same time. Water clone, not bad. Since the water clone is used as a feint, the offensive will naturally not stop there. At this moment, Mei's true form appeared behind Ao without him knowing when. She had already completed the seals with both hands, and quickly squatted down and slapped the ground with both palms. Earth style, tearing earth turning palm. As Mei growled, the ground quickly cracked from where her palms were touching the ground, spreading forward like a spider web, and in the blink of an eye it had spread to Ao's feet. The ground also shook violently and collapsed as these cracks spread wildly, and a large amount of soil was lifted up to form earth waves. Ao finally couldn't remain calm and couldn't stand there any longer. He immediately concentrated his chakra in his feet and leaped into the air, preparing to jump out of the range of the tearing earth-turning palm ninjutsu. Of course Ao also knew that since he was in the air and had no leverage, this was the best time for these students to attack. Sure enough, a thick, high-speed rotating stream of water shot out from the mist. Ao looked at the speed of the water and its diameter, which was larger than his thigh, and knew that being hit would not feel good. Fortunately, Ao was prepared when he jumped. He quickly formed seals with his hands, then put his palms together and pushed out. Wind style, gale palm. A simple C-rank ninjutsu actually created a gust of wind that easily blew away the incoming water column. Not bad, but before Ao could finish praising himself, he was about to fall. Mirukawa Kaito, with a small frog standing on his shoulder, had already flashed out from a tall tree crown and pounced towards Ao with a short sword in his hand. Ao, who was in the air, had to twist his body forcefully and kick Kaito, who was attacking him, sideways, sending him flying. However, both Kaito, who was kicked to the ground, and the little frog left in the air, suddenly burst out of their bodies with smoke at the same time. The little frog in the air was actually Mirukawa Kaito, who disguised himself using the transformation jutsu. At this moment, Kaito, who had undone his transformation, held a water shuriken formed by the convergence of clear water and which was spinning at high speed in his hand. "Eat this, water shuriken." Although he said, "Eat this, water shuriken," Kaito had no intention of throwing the shuriken at all, and just pressed it straight towards Ao. Ao's face was already full of black lines at this time. However, there was no time to use ninjutsu at this critical moment, so he could only raise his hand and slap Kaito's wrist. The water shuriken brushed against Ao's hair and flew into the woods with a whistling sound. No, short sword. Since Kaito's real body is right in front of him, then what about the man with the short sword who was kicked away just now? Before Ao could think carefully, Kaito had already grabbed Ao's wrist with his backhand, smiling. The Mirukawa Kaito, who had just been kicked away, also emerged from the exploding smoke. It was Momochi Zabuza, who had been preparing for a long time. At this moment, Zabuza had already used the water clone jutsu, splitting into three and rushing towards Ao, whose wrist was grabbed by Kaito. Three Zabuza, each holding a short sword, attacked Ao from three different angles. Seeing this, Ao had no choice but to grab Kaito, who was holding his wrist with his backhand. He tensed the muscles in his right arm and used Kaito as a weapon to draw a huge semicircle in the air. "Hey, hey, hey, don't!" accompanied by Kaito's shrill cries. Bang, bang, boom. The two Zabuza became water. They got hit, and the last Zabuza's real body was directly hit by Kaito, causing stars to appear in his eyes, and they fell to the ground together. On the other side, Mei was dodging on the cracked ground and wanted to go forward to provide support. Seeing that her two teammates had lost their fighting power, she decided to go all out and directly formed hand seals and released ninjutsu. Water style, water wave jutsu. Mei let out a delicate cry, and the water that came out of her mouth turned into turbulent waves, carrying a large amount of soil created by the previous tearing earth turning palm jutsu, and rushed towards Ao's location. As for whether the two people who had just been knocked to the ground by Ao were also within the attack range, that was not something Mei considered. Kaito, who was lying on the ground, felt something was wrong when he heard Mei's voice. Even when Ao grabbed him and flung him away just now, the anticipation that he had only given a slight warning was now sending out a crazy alarm in Kaito's mind. Kaito, who was lying on Zabuza with a sore back, turned his head to look at the waves and boulders coming towards him and could only hum weakly. That's not in the plan. The surging waves slowly receded, and the grove in the training ground was now in ruins. Ao picked up Momochi Zabuza and Kaito in each hand, dispersed the chakra gathered in his feet, and landed steadily on the ground. Just now, he saw two people falling to the ground and they really had no other tricks. Ao, who was feeling a little overwhelmed by the wave after wave of attacks, decisively picked up the two people, leaped onto the waves created by the water rush, and avoided the final sneak attack from Mei unscathed. After Ao landed, he casually put down the two people he was carrying. But their expressions were completely different. Zabuza was turning his head away in a somewhat depressed manner, obviously dissatisfied with his unremarkable performance in the previous battle. As planned before, if the sneak attack fails, Mei will step forward and team up with Kaito to fight against Ao in close combat to hold Ao back, and then Zabuza will find an opportunity to perform the water-style, water dragon jutsu to try to make the final move. Who would have thought that not only would he fail in his sneak attack and be knocked to the ground by Kaito, but he would also be nearly swept away by the water wave created by Mei. Unlike Zabuza, who was still sulking on the other side. Kaito didn't think there was anything shameful in losing to Ao, a Jonin. Instead, he looked at Mei, who was walking towards him with her tongue sticking out, looking a little embarrassed. That last water wave of yours felt a bit like a water-earth combined ninjutsu. It was quite powerful. Hearing this, Mei no longer felt guilty. She raised her little head and said proudly, "Right, I just saw you two fail, and I instantly thought of this method of attack." When Zabuza heard Mei say that his sneak attack failed, he became even angrier, but he had no way to refute it. At this time, Ao also spoke up, "Okay, as this is your first time teaming up, you guys have cooperated very well. Next, I'll treat everyone to a meal, and then we'll review this battle." The three of them looked at each other, then quickly followed Ao's figure and walked out of the training ground together. During the whole process, Blue only released one supersized water gun. When he saw the waves recede, he jumped out of the forest. What he saw was the back of his master turning and leaving. Blue's little head was filled with doubts at this moment. Quack, Angry Face Hashtag. Chapter 21 C-Rank Mission. 3 days have passed since the reorganization of Team AO. Apart from occasional instruction during these 3 days, AO only led the 3 kids to complete 4 of the simplest D-rank tasks. It was also to take care of the 2 people, Mirukawa Kaito and Momochi Zabuza, who had just become genin. Through this simplest task, the 2 of them were familiar with the process of ninjas receiving and executing tasks. Ninja missions are divided into 5 ranks, DS. D-rank tasks are usually the simplest tasks that do not require combat, such as taking care of pets, fishing, and farming. C-rank missions are slightly more difficult, meaning you may get hurt while performing the mission. However, they usually face ordinary people, such as capturing wild animals and eliminating bandits. B-rank missions are more dangerous and may involve fighting with hostile ninjas. You need to be a Chunin or above to accept them. The missions may even include dangerous activities such as assassinating ninjas and undercover spies. As for A-rank and S-rank missions, they can only be undertaken by Jonin. These 2 types of missions often involve crises and secrets of the ninja village or the country, and require facing high-rank combat forces from other countries or even destroying the entire ninja unit. Although the team leader AO is a Jonin, in a newly formed team like this, the Jonin usually plays a more guiding role and will not participate in the mission. Therefore, the team still accepts missions according to the combat power standards of 3 genin, and accepts D-rank and C-rank missions. AO was happy to see his disciples busying around, and to have a veteran like Terumi Mei, who had graduated a year ago, to guide them, while he could just sit back and do some fishing and earn money. However, since the Kirigakure village is different from Kanagakur village, the D-rank missions themselves are not taken seriously by the village. In addition, due to the recent pre-war preparations, the number of such missions is even rarer. So AO agreed and took on a C-rank mission today for everyone to practice. Kaito felt good about this, as it was just as he had guessed before. The official mission issued by the ninja village was indeed approved by the system. In the 4 D-rank tasks in the past 2 days, he got 5 gold coins for each one. This is equivalent to gaining a new channel for gold coins in addition to daily tasks and achievements. Just in time today, he can find out how much gold coin rewards there are for C-rank tasks. After picking and choosing, the 4 of them left the mission center. After walking out of the Mizukage building, Mei still complained somewhat indignantly. "AO-sensei, are you trying to make things difficult for us by choosing a mission like rescue a child kidnapped by pirates? It would be better to choose the previous one, which was to capture a pregnant tiger shark for the nobles of the land of water." AO was also a little embarrassed about this. But it's no wonder that Mei felt that the mission was bad. This mission was issued by villagers in a remote area on the border of the land of water. The low reward for the mission is only one aspect. At the same time, since the villagers themselves have no intelligence capabilities, they only provide basic information such as a certain pirate near a certain sea area. Moreover, most pirates' looting trips often last for a long time, so it is undoubtedly difficult to find these pirates in the vast ocean. The reward is low, the journey is long, and the task is complicated. It can be said to be the least cost-effective type of C-rank task. There's nothing we can do. The number of village missions has been reduced recently, originally in preparation for war. But in order to maintain the expenses of their members, the big clans have been accepting missions like crazy recently. C-rank and B-rank missions are too popular. Kaito had some understanding of this when chatting with Nakamura Keiko and Hoshigaki Kisame these 2 days, so he also spoke up to help AO explain it. What Kaito is saying is correct. But this mission is not without benefits. Since the mission was just issued, it seems that the issuer has not left the village yet. We can get some information from him first. AO spoke up to explain for himself and quickly took over the conversation. However, AO also knew that Mei was only complaining verbally and would still perform her mission wholeheartedly. Zabuza was still standing there with a cool expression on his face and didn't say a word. Oh, no. It was a cool expression with a bandage on. The 3 arrived at the inn where the person who issued the task was staying. Kaito can only say that he didn't expect that the Kirigakure village, one of the 5 great ninja villages, would have such a simple inn. If the word hotel on the black sign at the door of the hotel was not a little uneven and not completely covered by dirt, no one would know that this was a hotel. Looking at the indoor, which was half covered by vines, the four of them pushed the door open with a bit of helplessness. For the purpose of training students, AO basically just watched this simple task. Hello. We're looking for a person named Hugo. As a senior, May stepped forward and asked. The lady at the front desk didn't say a word, but just raised her chin and pointed it at a young man in simple clothes who was sitting in a daze in the corner of the lobby. The young man's haggard face had obvious features of a coastal fisherman. His clothes were a very simple short-sleeved shirt and long pants, with many salt stains left by the sea water. His skin was tanned and rough from the sun and wind, and his arms and shoulders were particularly muscular from years of fishing and boating. It's just that he must have been worried recently and hasn't been eating or sleeping enough, which has caused him to look haggard and weak. Kaito subconsciously analyzed the person in the corner and concluded that he should be the one who issued the task. The three of them walked quickly up to the men. Although May's voice was not small when she was at the front desk just now, given his mental state, he obviously did not notice the previous voice. It was not until the three people came closer that the middle-aged man raised his eyes and looked at the three people coming over. "Excuse me, what can I do for you, three ninja-sama?" Since the three of them were obviously wearing ninja costumes and the Kirigakure village forehead protectors, Hugo naturally would not treat them as just ordinary children, and there was a hint of respect in his tone. With May's personality, she wouldn't be shy about it. She introduced the trio openly and explained that they were here to learn more details about the mission. The men began to narrate in a low voice with a sad face. "Our village is an ordinary village near the border of the land of water. We make a living by fishing. Although our life is poor, we are very happy." Kaito saw that this person seemed to be preparing to speak for a long time and felt speechless, so he had to interrupt him. "Get to the point. Is there any useful information?" The fisherman's emotions were suddenly interrupted and he was still a little dazed. May also looked at Kaito with some blame, but did not refute it. Seeing this, the men continued. "There were about 30 or 40 pirates who attacked our village, and they only had one ship. Not only was the property of our village looted, but 7 children were also kidnapped. Money is not important. I just hope that Ninja-sama can rescue the children." The man restrained his emotions a little and looked at everyone expectantly. "The hostages kidnapped by pirates may not be alive." Zabuza pointed out the problem calmly. May felt a little sorry for the situation and said, "Since the pirates specifically kidnapped children, there must be a reason. They wouldn't kill them so quickly. If we find the pirates' lair, maybe we can rescue these children. The prerequisite is to find the pirates' lair." Kaito also reminded May in time. However, the man named Hugo said weakly at this time, "I may know where the pirates' lair is." Chapter 22 Ringo Village. After Hugo's narration, everyone knew the details of the cause of the incident. Ringo Village is an ordinary small village on the southern edge of the main island of the Land of Water, close to the mainland of the Land of Fire. Although it is located on the seashore, the terrain is not suitable for building a port, and the land route outside the village is not smooth due to the complex terrain. The complex terrain has resulted in an underdeveloped economy in the village, but thanks to this environment, the small Ringo village has never been visited by the rampant pirates around the Land of Water. However, just a dozen days ago, fishermen from the village found a merchant ship that had run aground on a reef. Out of kindness, the villagers spent a lot of effort to save the merchant ship, and fortunately there were no casualties on the merchant ship. In this way, the merchant ship was repaired in Ringo village for several days, and the villagers also learned that the merchant was an arms merchant from Takumi village. Takumi equals artisan. However, when the villagers asked the merchant where in the Land of Water he was going to trade, the merchant hesitated and evaded the question. The villagers thought that the merchant wanted to protect his business secrets and did not ask any more questions. Afterwards, the merchant ship was finally repaired with the help of the villagers, and the merchant said goodbye and left. Before leaving, he left some money and several weapons to thank the villagers for their help. However, because this ordinary small village was not accurately marked on the map and the villagers had no geographical knowledge, the merchant asked the local fishermen in detail about the surrounding sea conditions before leaving. The businessman specifically asked us about the islands to our east and described the characteristics of a certain island. Only one elderly fisherman in our village said he had seen the island from afar. Hugo emphasized this point. Later, the village chief said that the nearest port from the Land of River to the Land of Water is on the west side of the village. It is precisely because of the existence of that port that few people come to the village. So, when that merchant ship left, it headed for the small island in the east, right? Upon hearing this, Mirukawa Kaito also guessed at the right time. Yes, the village chief said at the time that this businessman probably wasn't doing any legitimate business. Hugo also confirmed Kaito's guess. A few days after the merchant left, pirates came to attack our village. The only people who escaped were those who went out to sea to fish and some old, weak, women and children who hid in the mountains. When he said this, Hugo's eyes were already moist. There is nothing valuable in our village, but those pirates not only robbed money, but also robbed children. My daughter was also kidnapped by pirates. That merchant must have made a deal with the pirates and sold the location of our village to them. The survivors in the village said that the weapons of those pirates were exactly the same as those on the merchant's ship. Maybe it's just that the merchant ship was unlucky and was robbed by pirates. Although Zabuza saw that Hugo was a little emotionally unstable, he still asked directly. After hearing what Zabuza said, Kaito thought for a moment and then refuted, it shouldn't be possible. First of all, the merchant's target is clearly an overseas island. And if they were robbed by pirates, the victims usually wouldn't specifically mention a remote village with little money, not to mention that this village has done him a favor. Kaito touched his chin and thought that the merchant ship Hugo was talking about should be the one going to trade with pirates. Yes, everyone in the village thinks so. In that case, let's set off. It's always better to have a lead than to search aimlessly on the sea. Seeing that she had almost all the information, Terumi decided to set off as soon as possible. However, Kaito still asked Hugo one more question: can the people in your village still find the location of that island? It's no problem. Most of the fishermen and fishing boats in the village are still there. Although no one has been to the island, it's easy to find if you know its approximate location. In the end, everyone decided not to take Hugo with them and go directly to Ringo village. After all, it's not an escort mission. Hugo also said that there are other people in the village who can lead the way. Rescue missions still require speed, and bringing an ordinary person along will definitely greatly slow down the progress. Ao did not interrupt from beginning to end, but silently watched his disciples make preparations before the mission. A day later, Team Ao traveled day and night to reach Ringo village. Although the buildings in the village looked relatively intact, there were obvious signs of repairs everywhere, and there were still some unwashed bloodstains on the streets. There were almost no people walking on the streets in the entire village. The one or two passers-by in cloth clothes looked at everyone with numb expressions and a hint of vigilance. Just by looking at the dilapidated village in front of them, they can already imagine the devastation this remote little village has suffered. However, since they had already arrived here overnight, there was no time to delay any longer. Mei signaled to Kaito with her eyes. Kaito understood and stepped forward to stop a middle-aged man, and asked, "We are the ninjas from the Kirigakure village who have received a mission to rescue the captives. May I ask where the village chief's house is?" When he heard this, the numb-looking middle-aged man seemed to have a little light in his eyes, and then quickly fell into sadness again. The village chief has been killed by pirates. His son Dazu is in charge now. I will take you to find him. Having said that, the middle-aged man turned around and led the way. Several people came to a relatively clean courtyard. Before they could speak, a sturdy young man wearing a bamboo hat walked out of the stone house. When the young man went out, he was stunned for a moment when he saw so many strangers standing in the yard. However, he immediately realized what was happening when he saw the emblems of the Kirigakure village on several of them. He asked, "Are you the ninjas that Hugo invited?" With the customs of the land of water, no one anywhere would look down on ninjas because of their age, not to mention that there is Ao, an adult wearing a Jonin vest, in charge. This saved Kaito and the other two a lot of trouble. After a brief introduction, everyone turned their attention to the young, acting village chief. Then let me be responsible for leading everyone to the island. The young man named Dazu looked at everyone with a determined expression. The middle-aged man who led Team Ao here seemed to be hesitant to speak after hearing what Dazu said, but in the end he just sighed softly and didn't say anything else. As if afraid that the ninjas might have some misunderstanding, Dazu explained, "I am the best fisherman in our village. I am also very familiar with the nearby sea area. I can take you there by myself." Mei said, "No problem. You just need to take us to the island." After we get to the island, you can return directly. After the mission is completed, we will bring the kidnapped children back to the village. May seemed to be particularly sensible today, and even her usual tsundere tone was gone when she spoke. Seeing the worries of the two ordinary people present, Kaito also comforted them. Don't worry, as ninjas, we have no problem dealing with ordinary pirates. After that, Dazu simply gave a brief explanation to the middle-aged men and led the four people out of the yard. In this way, without disturbing other people in the village, the group came straight to the shore where several fishing boats were anchored. It is probably because recently, people in the village are in no mood to go fishing, so the fishing boats on the shore are just parked there in a lopsided manner. Considering that this trip was for rescue and that Dazu would return early, several people also helped to tow an empty ship together. However, Kaito, who came into close contact with the fishing boat, couldn't help but complain in his heart. These wooden fishing boats are all equipped with engines and propellers. Fortunately, no one thought of chasing pirates at sea. Could the pirates' ships be ironclad ships? Chapter 23 Emergency. A group of 5 people took a fishing boat and arrived at an inconspicuous and nameless island under the cover of night. However, before they got close, they could basically confirm that this was the place. Because on this remote island that is not even marked on the map, there is a small camp built around a simple port. There were flickering lights at the port, and several small boats were moored there. Deeper in the forest, there were all kinds of strange wooden and stone houses scattered among the sparse woods, and some figures could be vaguely seen walking around in the camp. Fortunately, Dazu's fishing boat was not very big. Seeing this, he began to slow down the speed of the fishing boat from a distance and spoke in a low voice. "Ninja-sama, the pirate ship doesn't seem to be here." Those who survived the previous pirate attack in the village said that the pirates were sailing a medium-sized sailing ship. Naturally, several people also saw the situation at that port. It might be that the pirate ship has left. Judging from the architectural style, we should have found the right place. Mirukawa Kaito frowned after he said this. It would be nice to say that the pirate ship had just left. But if the pirates had looted Ringo Village and never returned, it would undoubtedly be much more difficult for everyone to rescue the target of the mission. After all, it has not been more than 10 days since Ringo Village was attacked, and the pirate ship is likely still sailing. Let's go to the island first. Mr. Dazu, don't go close to the port. Go a little further east and find a more secluded place to dock. There are still pirates left on the island, so don't alarm them yet. Perhaps he was worried that the 3 disciples were inexperienced and would affect the rescue. At this critical moment, Ao directly spoke up and made arrangements. Although we have already made a certain assessment of the situation, the specific conditions of the camp and whether the mission target is on the island still require further investigation. Since the Jonin sensei has already made arrangements, everyone will naturally have no objections. Then Dazu carefully turned the bow of the boat, tried to lower the noise of the engine as much as possible, and slowly drove the fishing boat towards a shallow beach in the blind spot on the east side of the port. However, just as the boat was about to slowly approach the shore, the anticipation in Kaito's mind suddenly sent a rapid warning. The degree of danger was no less than the previous time when it was enveloped by the water waves created by Terumi Mei. Without any time to delay, Kaito hurriedly said to Ao beside him, "Sensei, there is danger, please use your sensory ninjutsu to sense the surrounding area." At the same time, without waiting for the boat to stop, he immediately took out a kunai from the ninja tool bag and jumped directly onto the shore. As a senior ninja who had experienced countless dangers, Ao naturally would not have any hesitation at this time. After seeing Kaito's series of abnormal behaviors, he closed his eyes, formed the ram seal with one hand, and concentrated his mind, and began to perform perception ninjutsu. Zabuza and Mei did not say anything upon seeing this, but jumped off the boat in tacit understanding, and formed a D formation with Kaito to protect the small boat behind them. Faintly, an invisible ripple spread out from Ao's body to the surroundings. The enemies hiding in the dark naturally noticed the alert posture of the 3 little ones and Ao, who was performing perception ninjutsu. Without waiting for Ao, who had already discovered their hiding place, to launch any attack, 2 masked ninjas walked out from behind a huge rock on the shallows. Judging from their figures, they should be a man and a woman, both dressed as members of the Kirigakure village Hunter-nin Corps. They are wearing ANBU vests and cloaked masks on their faces, with the Kirigakure village logo printed between their eyebrows. Only the ANBU of the Kirigakure village are so stupid that they would print the village logo on their masks, as if they were afraid that when they did something bad, others would not know which village did it. The two people just walked out so openly, without any attacking gesture, and seemed to have no hostility at all. However, Kaito's mind still had the anticipation that did not stop, so he did not dare to relax. The male ninja ignored the three little ones who were still on guard, but spoke directly in the direction of Ao. Jonin Ao, we are on an ANBU mission to search for a group of missing people from the land of water, and we do not wish to come into conflict with you. When they saw that the other party was dressed in ANBU attire and directly pointed out Ao's identity, they let down their guard a little, but still held their weapons tightly and waited for Ao's order. After Ao pondered for a moment, he explained the situation. I am leading a team to carry out a C-rank mission. I do not intend to offend you, and it will not affect your mission. After all, the Kirigakure village is not entirely harmonious, and Ao doesn't want to have any conflicts with these ANBU members during the mission. The two ANBU members didn't seem to want to stay any longer, and didn't say anything after hearing that. They just glanced at these people, turned around without saying a word, and quickly left towards the back of the island. Seeing the other party finally leave, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and put away their weapons. The three little ones were still waiting for Ao's next order, but Ao stood there motionless with a thoughtful look on his face. Ao-sensei. Mei called out after approaching Ao. After being awakened by Mei, Ao spoke to everyone with a serious expression. Something's not right about those two. The ANBU will not casually tell others about the mission. And from my perception, the woman is the Jonin, but the man who spoke is a Chunin. Seeing Ao raising doubts, and thinking of the previous crazy alarm of anticipation, Kaito also became suspicious of the two people, and continued to speculate along the lines of Ao's words. There aren't many female Jonin in the village. Maybe that Jonin happened to be known by Ao-sensei, and she didn't want to be known by others when she spoke. Fake ANBU. Mei and Zabuza exclaimed in surprise. Ao did not continue analyzing, but turned back to look at Dazu, who still did not quite understand the situation. Mr. Dazu, you should return to the village first. Leave the rescue to us. It's not safe to stay here. Then I'll trouble you all, Ninja-sama. Dazu also knew that he, an ordinary person, could not play any role here. He immediately untied the chain, left the empty ship behind, and returned alone. When Ao saw Dazu start the engine, he immediately stopped hesitating and ordered the three disciples, Mei, you will lead the team to continue the mission. I will catch up with the two and confirm the situation. There won't be too many pirates left on the island. If the mission is completed, wait for me near the port. If you encounter any danger, fire flares in time. Yes, sensei. The three answered in unison. After saying this, Ao was still a little worried and added another sentence. It doesn't matter if the target of the mission is not on the island. After you deal with the remaining pirates, I will consider how to find the pirate ship when I come back. Ao-sensei, don't worry. We can deal with these ordinary pirates. Mei frowned and said in a somewhat dissatisfied tone. Seeing Mei speak confidently, Ao said no more. He turned around and quickly chased in the direction the two people had just left. Chapter 24 Let Them See Ninja. Looking at Ao's quickly leaving back, Zabuza, who rarely showed concern for others, asked. Ao-sensei won't be in danger if he chases after them alone, right? However, when he turned around, he saw that Mei seemed to be indifferent, and suddenly he felt that his words seemed a bit redundant. Don't worry, Ao-sensei's ability to save his life is one of the best among the village's Jonin. You should just focus on our mission. Terumi Mei spoke directly to ease Zabuza's worries. Mirukawa Kaito heard this and complained in his heart. Don't underestimate Ao's ability to save his life. He is a man who can survive even if he is hit by the 10-tailed beast bomb in the future. Mei naturally couldn't hear the complaints in Kaito's heart, but she just thought that as the acting captain, she had done a good job in calming the mentality of her two teammates at the moment. Then she began to call the two of them to move towards the pirate camp. However, in order to bypass observation at the port, the shoal where the fishing boat was docked was a little far from the port where the pirate camp was located. The three of them moved quickly through the forest, but Zabuza was still thinking about the two ninjas who were suspected of impersonating ANBU. After hesitating for a moment, Zabuza spoke first. Those two people just now seem to have a deep hostility towards us. Kaito, who was concentrating on his journey and jumping onto the next tree, was a little surprised at Zabuza's sharpness. Indeed, the enemy initially intended to launch a surprise attack when we landed. Kaito was very sure of this, as he had seen other ninjas in the village before. When those passerby ninjas have no hostility or desire to attack him, they will not trigger the anticipation alarm, and it will not be such a strong warning. If they had not discovered the other party in advance and had taken precautions first, they might have been attacked by the other party's ninjutsu the moment the ship docked. And now that I think about it, the other party does not look like an ANBU ninja. Almost all ANBU ninjas in the village carry swords, and their clothes have hoods to hide their identities. Mei joined in the conversation as she walked forward. But what she said was something Kaito had not noticed before. As for hiding his identity, Kaito was too embarrassed to directly complain about his village to his teammates. So, what is the other party's purpose in coming to this remote island and pretending to be an ANBU? This time, neither Mei nor Kaito could answer Zabuza's question. Although he had some guesses in his heart, Kaito did not speak them out at this time. Instead, he quickened his pace. Okay, it's Ao-sensei's job to track down those two people. We can just focus on the rescue. In the end, it was Mei who ended the conversation. Although the three were discussing the two ninjas, it did not delay their journey. They gradually slowed down their pace when they approached a low hill in front of the camp. It was a little different from what they expected. It was clearly past midnight, and they thought that even if there were some pirates in the camp, they should have rested and fallen asleep by now. But there were actually many figures moving around in the camp below the hill. With the help of the light from the torches in the camp, the three of them looked down carefully. The most eye-catching thing was an open space like a training ground surrounded by a group of houses. At this moment, there were more than 20 children fighting each other in the open space. At the edge of the open space, there were a few pirates in tattered clothes standing in groups of 3 or 4, pointing at these children. The three even saw a child, estimated to be only 5 or 6 years old, who was stabbed in the vitals by his opponent's kunai and fell to the ground, injured, and his life or death was unknown. One of the pirates who was on guard nearby walked up to the fallen child very skillfully and picked him up with one hand, as if he was throwing away garbage, and threw him to a corner at the edge of the venue. At this time Kaito also noticed that in that corner there were several children piled up in a mess, their lives or deaths unknown, and no one was paying any attention to them. While doing all this, the pirate never stopped chatting and laughing with his companions. The child who had just defeated his opponent threw away the kunai in his hand regardless of his injuries. He staggered to a table with food on the other side of the open space, grabbed the food and swallowed it in big mouthfuls. This caused the pirates to laugh wildly. When the other children who were still fighting saw this scene, they only paused for less than a second before immediately continuing their fierce fight. Is this a battle, training? Are the pirates selecting backup personnel? Mei, who witnessed it all, spoke with anger in her voice. Kaito hurriedly held down Mei's shoulders to prevent her from being too impulsive. While holding down Mei's palms, he could clearly feel her slight tremors. Kaito naturally knew that this was not a tremor of fear, but an angry tremor. Calm down. Pirates are desperate people who don't think about the future, let alone spend time training their children. Hearing this, Mei suppressed the anger in her heart and looked at the pirates below. Zabuza also spoke up, those pirates in charge of guarding are very weak, they are basically ordinary people. The three of them were not too far away from the camp at this time. It was not difficult to see the strength of these pirates from their figures and movements. It could even be said that most of them were not as good as the students who had not yet graduated from the Kirigakure ninja school. And judging from the weapon configuration and attire, they don't look like ninjas. On the contrary, the children who were fighting were all holding kunai, and their movements during the battle also vaguely had some of the style of the Kiri ninja. Then, the three of them looked at each other. Those two fake ANBU. Kaito said with a serious look on his face. This is a serious matter. However, although Mei said that things were serious, there was no trace of retreat in her tone. Even Zabuza, who was standing beside him, although he appeared calm on the surface, was actually filled with anger in his heart. Zabuza has always considered himself a reformer, and from the beginning to the end he could not stand the so-called blood mist policy of the Kirigakure village. However, he had just used the most cruel means and paid a huge price to end the bloody assessment in the Kirigakure village that had lasted for decades. These despicable pirates before us are still in this unknown corner, clumsily imitating these dregs that should be eliminated. Give the orders, Captain. Zabuza reached for the short sword behind him and said to Mei. Kaito also looked at Mei with a serious expression. He took another look at the pirates who were talking and laughing. Mei's voice was different from usual, with a hint of blood in it, as she spoke to her two teammates. Since these pirates want to train ninjas so much, let them see what a real ninja is. Chapter 25, First Blood. Terumi Mei, who was temporarily leading the team, looked at the two of them with a determined gaze. After so many days of sparring, Mei was very clear about the strength of her two teammates, and she had long known that Mirukawa Kaito was by no means just a simple medical ninja. Although the three of them are still young, they all have strength close to that of a Chunin. The only thing they lack may be experience in fighting enemies. After a simple tactical arrangement, they began to act separately in tacit understanding. After a moment, taking Blue with him, they sneaked quietly to the two largest adjacent stone houses inside the camp, and Kaito nimbly rolled over and hid by the window of the house. Really? There was no need for Kaito to even confirm it, as he could clearly hear deafening snoring coming from one of the rooms. Kaito didn't make any sound, but gestured to Blue to go to another room to investigate. He clenched the kunai in his hand, and with his other hand, he grabbed the bottom edge of the window, exerted a little force, and then nimbly climbed into the house. Without caring about the strength of the person who was sleeping soundly in the room, Kaito's toes just touched the ground and he slightly arched his feet and exerted force again. He rushed to the bed in one step, and the kunai instantly pierced into the throat of the sleeping pirate. Poochie. The pirate just struggled slightly, splashed a small amount of blood, and then died. From climbing into the house to killing the pirate, Kaito didn't even think too much. He simply followed the steps taught in the ninja school and easily killed the pirate. Life is such a fragile thing. Ding! You have killed the enemy for the first time and have unlocked the achievement, First Blood. The cold system prompt sounded in his mind, making Kaito feel somewhat complicated. After knowing that he had come to this chaotic ninja world, Kaito had already prepared himself mentally to have blood on his hands. However, the system prompt sounded as if it was mocking Kaito. At this moment, there was no pirate snoring or system prompts. In the quiet room, a faint breathing sound in the corner came clearly into Kaito's ears. Without time to think, Kaito's body tensed up in an instant, and he pulled out the kunai that was stuck in the pirate's neck with his backhand, and threw it hard towards the corner behind him where the sound came from. At the same time, he turned around quickly, bursting chakra under his feet, and was ready to launch a follow-up attack. Boom. The kunai hit a wooden wardrobe squarely and missed its target. However, Kaito, who had rushed to the opponent in an instant, did not launch any follow-up attacks. Instead, he just stood there in a daze, looking at the enemy in front of him. The reason why the kunai missed the target was not because of a mistake, but because the opponent was too short. In front of Kaito at this moment was a red-haired child who looked only 4 or 5 years old and was tied to the ground with an iron chain. This dirty child whose gender could not be identified had a thin body and empty eyes. It is obvious that the child's spirit has been devastated. The child didn't react at all to the kunai that was less than a centimeter away from its head, or the fist that stopped in front of it. If it weren't for the faint sound of breathing, Kaito would even doubt whether the other person was alive. Surprised face. Blue's gentle call from the window brought Kaito back to his senses. Go get some sleep first, and you'll be free when you wake up. There was no time to mourn for the other person. He knocked the other person unconscious with a gentle karate chop. Kaito turned around and walked out of the house with Blue. Thanks to this child, at least I didn't have any psychological burden when I killed someone for the first time. After quickly searching several houses, he did not see any other pirates resting. The mist in the camp was getting thicker and thicker, so Kaito gave up searching the other rooms. Has Zabuza finished his mission? The task that Mei assigned to Kaito was to investigate whether there were any high-level pirates in the two houses that were obviously better off, and to decide on his own whether to launch a sneak attack or sound the alarm. It was just that the opponent happened to be sleeping soundly, so Kaito chose to kill him directly. Zabuza went to the port to kill the pirates guarding the ship, and used the sea water to perform a large-scale hidden mist jutsu. At this moment, both sides had completed their mission, and Kaito also sneaked all the way and approached the most important training ground. He could already hear the pirates' noisy shouting and cursing. What the hell is this weather? Has the mist always been this thick? Okay, stop complaining. Genichi and his gang can't train now, so we can rest early. What bullshit. If those masters come to inspect the goods and the pass rate is not high enough, will you pay with your life? Shut the fuck up. All you little brats. Stop it. Get the hell back into your cages. Although the thick mist had successfully separated the pirates and the children, Kaito did not take immediate action. Instead, he continued to move forward according to the plan with a cold expression. On the other side, on a low hill close to the camp. Seeing that the thick mist had covered the entire camp, Mei's frown finally relaxed a little. There was no signal in the camp at this time, which meant that both teammates were making good progress. However, because she couldn't hear the sound below, she naturally didn't know that the pirates had stopped the fighting of the children because of the mist. After all, when the three of them made the plan before, they still considered it from the perspective of a ninja. Mei still followed the plan and formed seals with her hands to perform ninjutsu. Earth style, tearing earth turning palm. In an instant, a part of the mountain collapsed and slid towards the camp below with a boom. Of course, in order not to accidentally hurt the children in the camp, the landslide caused by Mei was only to make noise and attract the attention of the pirates, and did not consume too much chakra. The broken pieces of earth stopped moving forward before they reached the edge of the camp. What the hell is going on? Is there a landslide? Send 2 people over to see what's going on. And hurry up and get these little devils into the cages. At this time, Kaito and Zabuza, who finally received the attack signal below, immediately launched an attack on all the pirates around them. Although they couldn't see far away in the mist, most of the pirates subconsciously looked in the direction of the loud noise. The 2 boys and the frog quietly eliminated a large number of pirates, but their tracks were eventually discovered. Enemy attack. Be careful. The remaining dozen or so pirates then realized that the camp was under attack and immediately approached the person who made the sound. Fortunately, by this time Kaito and his companions had already dealt with all the pirates who were close to the children. Since there is nothing to worry about. Kaito roughly sensed that the remaining pirates seemed to be gathering towards him and did not choose to hide in the mist again. Instead, he stood there and suddenly smiled. Since you guys are so cooperative, then I won't be polite. After 26 successful rescue. Watching the pirates approaching in such a cooperative manner. Kaito smiled for the first time after landing on the island, but if other people saw it, they would probably think that this smile was a little hideous. He stood still and formed seals with his hands quickly. Water style, water shuriken. Kaito stepped suddenly with one foot towards a puddle on the ground, and instantly a large amount of water splashed around him. As the seal was completed, the water splashes immediately began to gather into a stream at more than 20 points. In the blink of an eye, all the water splashes around Kaito disappeared, and turned into more than 20 water shurikens slightly larger than ordinary shurikens that were spinning at high speed in the air. Kaito put his hands together, and instantly all the water shurikens flew through the air with splashes of water, spinning towards the pirates who were attacking from all directions. Puff puff. The sound of sharp weapons hitting flesh could be heard continuously. Faced with such a large-scale ninjutsu attack, the pirates rushing in the front were instantly hit by several water shurikens and fell to the ground. Many of the pirates running behind were also cut by the high-speed rotating blades and suffered multiple injuries. Seeing such results, Kaito was quite satisfied with his new method of using the water shuriken. Before, because a single water shuriken was easier to control and more powerful, Kaito would usually only create one water shuriken and continue to add more chakra. However, thanks to the continuous improvement in medical ninjutsu, chakra control has also improved, which allows the water shuriken to be used in group attacks. On the other side, seeing that the battle was coming to an end, Zabuza, who had already lifted the hidden mist jutsu, just happened to see Kaito displaying his powerful ninjutsu. He also raised his hands, ready to form seals and use the water dragon jutsu to harvest. However, when he saw the few remaining pirates and the child not far away, he simply gave up the idea, drew the short sword from his back again, and rushed forward with Blue. Among them, the short-statured Blue used quick attack first and passed by several pirates in the blink of an eye. Blue's figure is like a blue phantom, and he will only appear when he rushes to the enemy's feet. This moment of pause is often accompanied by Blue stretching out his little hand and slapping the pirates on their calves. The crisp sounds of breaking bones rang out one after another, and the pirates fell to the ground wailing in pain, holding their broken legs. But they should be considered lucky. If Zabuza had rushed up first, they probably wouldn't even have the chance to wail. On the other side, after dealing with the pirates who were heading to the landslide, May also quickly rushed over. When she arrived, she saw Zabuza pulling the short sword out of the heart of the last pirate still standing. It's over. Well, I still overestimated the combat effectiveness of these pirates. Kaito knocked out a pirate who was still wailing and covering his broken leg, while answering May. Upon hearing this, May did not refute anything, but walked forward and kicked an injured pirate hard, knocking him unconscious. Zabuza also turned around at this time, holding his short sword as if ready to end the pirate's life. Don't kill all of them. Leave a few alive. Kaito hurriedly spoke out to stop them. Zabuza glanced at Kaito with a somewhat cold look, neither speaking nor putting down his short sword. Faintly, there seemed to be a flash of purple aura on his body. Maybe I am dazzled. Seeing that Zabuza seemed to be in a bad state, Kaito didn't pay attention to his look and still started to explain. We haven't confirmed yet whether the target child is in the camp. Maybe the pirates haven't returned since they looted the Ringo village. And don't forget those two ANBU. We may need to get information. Kaito is right. Let's knock out the surviving pirates first. May also agreed. Okay. Zabuza's eyes returned to normal and he silently put away his short sword. However, although the three of them are not planning to kill all the pirates for the time being, they obviously will not treat the prisoners well or anything. Those pirates whose injuries were not fatal were simply walked over and kicked unconscious, while those with more serious injuries were simply helped to relieve their pain. While the three were dealing with the pirates, the captured children noticed that the battle here was over. The incident happened suddenly and most of the cages were not closed, but the fighting never stopped, so no children came out. At this moment, some children are still peeking around to see what's going on here, while some braver ones have already come out. It's over. We are here to rescue you. Seeing these children, the oldest of whom were only 7 or 8 years old and the youngest of whom were only 4 or 5 years old, May spoke particularly gently. Perhaps it was because the three of them were only a few years older than the other children, and more children began to walk out of the cages. One of the older kids bravely walked up to the three of them and asked, "Excuse me, are you ninja-sama?" "We are ninjas from the Kirigakure village. We have been tasked with rescuing children that were kidnapped by pirates." Although the mission was only to rescue the 7 children in Ringo village, Kaito would naturally not say such a depressing thing at this time. As a result, Zabuza on the side asked directly with some impatience. "Are any of you kidnapped from Ringo village?" "Ah. I'm from Ringo village." Although he was frightened by Zabuza, the youngest boy who came over still spoke up and answered. "Are all 7 of you here?" May asked immediately. "Ah, several children from our village were just captured, and only one child was taken away." The boy looked a little sad when he said this. Kaito suddenly thought of the red-haired kid who was knocked unconscious in the house by him before, and turned to May and said, "May, tell these kids about the situation. I'll go search these houses to see if there's any information or any fish that slipped through the net. I'll go too." As if he was not very good at dealing with these children younger than himself, Zabuza turned and walked towards the other side of the house. When Kaito finished searching all the houses and returned to the center of the camp carrying the red-haired child on his back, May and Zabuza had gathered all the living children together and were giving simple bandages to a few injured children. Seeing this, Kaito walked over and took over the treatment, while telling his search results. "There's only one child like this, and there's no intelligence letter. Let's let the children of Ringo village identify this child." "I didn't find anything here either," Zabuza said casually after hearing this. Fortunately, after confirmation, the red-haired child was indeed captured from Ringo village, and the team's mission objectives were found. And after the brief communication with these children just now, May also learned some general information.